Welcome back, Nuggets. This mother clucker's got some thoughts. Let's ruffle some feathers and get into this live stream. Hello, everybody. Hi. Who have we got? Oh, we've got some people over on Twitch. Thank you so much for your support over on Twitch. Hello, Fuzzy. Hello, Mother of Baggins. Nice to see you here. And over on YouTube, I have set up my system a little bit differently so that I can see like everybody's membership badges and things like that. Hello, Neo. Hi, Bootcat. Hi, Marshmallow. Hi, Fire Rabbit. Nice to see you in here. Hey, Amanda. Hi, Dead Not Sleeping. Hello. Hey, Caden. Hi, Kex. Hey, Dancer. Hello. Hi, everybody. So nice to see everyone in here. How are you doing today? Or this evening, or this morning, or whatever the clock it is for you at the moment. Gosh, some of you are in here early. It's good to see. Okay, so I've got a couple of little housekeepy things. I'm just catching up on chat. Cheap. Hi, King. Hey, Tiger. You thought of me the other day. The stock shop near your house had a male rooster you fell head over heels for. He was an all-white silky with light blue wattles and black legs. He was gorgeous, I bet. Silkies actually have all black like tissue, including their muscles and everything, which is probably why he had little black legs, and their combs are quite darker too, but silky roosters are something else. Hi, Katie. Hello. Okay, so housekeeping things. Now you'll notice when you chat, when someone chats, you actually see it pop up in the top right corner here. That is not going to be something I keep going forward. I've done it for today because I know that replay nuggets really like to be able to see the chat and what's going on, and I have a suspicion that some of what I cover today is probably going to get copyright struck or copyright claimed, and I may need to do some post-stream editing, which unfortunately the way it's set up removes the live chat. So we're just going to have that there for today, and yeah, we'll move through this thing. Okay, so the other thing, a couple of things that are happening, unfortunately my day is just weird today. I am on Chicken Watch, as you all know. Oh, sorry, I'm on Top Chat, I just realized. You've probably all been talking. Yeah, there will be some condition-related talk, but I feel confident that I can navigate my way around that. You're so tired, you've been up since 5 a.m. for traveling to university. It's 1 a.m. Oh my gosh. But now you have no classes today, so you can still enjoy the stream. Yay! Caden, make sure you do get your sleep though if you need it. I love having you here, but if you need it, right? Yeah, also I'm going to be dog sitting for the next couple of days, and the dog is actually going to be arriving at some point, likely during this stream. My husband's going to largely handle it, but it's just kind of a messy day over here. And I really need to look after my throat because genius Mother Clucker over here decided to schedule a 3-hour live stream as well as a video recording all in one day. So my voice is going to be clucked. But I've got my voice tea here. Okay, so let's talk about the Wicked cast. So Ariana and Cynthia are going to be the most focal areas, I suppose. And I think all of you probably have a much better idea about what's going on than I do. I'm not someone that really follows celebrities closely. Yeah, Bootcat. My voice tea actually has honey in it. It's good. Yeah, I don't really follow celebrities, but obviously Ariana Grande generally speaking, is at the peripheral of my awareness because she pops up all over the place on social media. So I'm going to run through what I know, and then anybody who wants to jump in can absolutely jump in and fill me in. But this is a full-on research stream because I'm going to be doing videos on this. I expect definitely one video, but potentially a series based on, you know, how intricate this story is. It sounds like it is layered and interesting. So here's what I know about Ariana and Cynthia. Cynthia I know very little about. I know that she's had a lot of theatre like work in her history. I know that she references herself as queer, and that's about all I know about her. The only reason you know anything is because the two of them are everywhere. Yeah, right, Kex? That's pretty much my awareness of it as well. Now, Ariana I know a little bit more about because I follow Jeanette McCurdy quite closely. She and I obviously have a very key thing in common. And I've read her book and I've listened to a lot of interviews with her, and Ariana comes up ambiently there. So while I don't know the extent of what Ariana has gone through in her history, I know a couple of key things. One is that she was a child actor, which is, you know, problematic in and of itself. And two, that she was in very close proximity with a very serious predator throughout her youth. And I think that that is always worth taking into account. I also, for some reason, know that she's best friends with Lady Gaga. Hi, Kitty. Hello. The whole cast is looking sickly thin. Yes. And they seem to be feeding into each other's mess. I agree. And this is going to be very multifaceted, and that is going to be one of the facets. This is such an interesting topic. You've been rather confused and concerned about these two for a while. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Her book was wild. Yeah, unfortunately, very, very, very similar to my history. The Nickelodeon sets were weird, yeah. Yeah, I liked Jeanette's book too. It was great. I should probably do a video series at some point on Jeanette McCurdy, just because of the similarities between the two of us. It's yeah. You've seen past Ariana. I don't think I can say that word. Inspiration of a certain kind. So, I mean, she's been doing what she has for a long time. I love Lady Gaga too, Kex. You went down the Jeanette McCurdy rabbit hole not too long ago. And yeah, it's an interesting story. She's quite inspirational and quite a real example of this particular issue. You also can't help but wonder if the emotional outbursts are partially hormone issues from being so thin. Yeah, king, for sure. If you've watched my, I know you remember. I can see that you remember now, which is good. But if you've watched the condition stuff that I've done on Eugenia, you know hormones are absolutely affected in this kind of situation. So, now, the other thing I just wanted to say before we get into it is you may have noticed in my content that I very, very exquisitely rarely will speak about sexuality and how people, you know, present outwardly and what they do and all of that kind of thing. And the reason that I very, very minimally speak about it is because for the most part, I actually think it's a non-issue. I support people doing what they want to do with consenting adults. I really don't think it matters, except between, you know, you and whoever you're having a relationship with. I personally don't even feel the need to define it with words. I I don't know, you are who you are, do what you do, it's fine. But in this case, I do believe sexuality is going to come up. So since it's part of the core topic, we will be discussing it a little bit. But I just want to put out there that I won't be tolerating any sort of negative speak in regards to sexuality, what people may or may not be doing, or anything like that. Absolutely no bigoted language at all will be tolerated. So everybody that's in here at the moment and talking, I know that that's not you, but just putting that forward, including in the comments for replay nuggets. Ariana also has PTSD from the Manchester concert tragedy. Yes, I'm aware of that one too. Yeah. Coffee and Colts did do a video on Nickelodeon. I caught that. I really like Coffee and Colts. She is thorough. Yay, love Ash. Yep. So, yeah. So with all of that out there, I think we can get into it. So I am coming at this with kind of fresh eyes, and I'm not really sure what we're going to get into. Peripherally, what I've already seen, clearly there's a little bit of an unusual relationship between Ariana and Cynthia. I am interested to see where that goes, because straight off the bat, the way that I'm looking at it, there's a couple of things that kind of come to mind as possibilities, and that is one, maybe they're kind of in a very intensive friendship, which is interesting to me because that can actually be like a prodrome for a more detailed relationship down the track, and like teenagers tend to do this a lot, and I find that very interesting because of Ariana's history and, you know, her upbringing and things like that. Perhaps she is operating on a younger level in that way. If that's true, it's potential that Cynthia is a little bit predatory in that way, if that's the perspective that it's coming from, which is problematic. Alternatively, I wonder if Cynthia is seeing something in Ariana that she needs a lot of care and a lot of guidance, and perhaps there's more of a maternal thing going on between Cynthia and Ariana. Maybe it's not romantic at all. Maybe it's like, yeah, like a mother figure in a way. Or just putting it out there, maybe it's all for show. Maybe it's just all for the promotion, because it was getting a lot of attention and producers were like, yeah, play that up. That's a possibility too. You just came here from a recent video on James Franco, Mother of Baggins. I'm literally halfway through it. It's what I was watching while I was waiting for the stream to start. So we're probably both did the same thing. Oh, Marshmallow too. I just want to catch up on what everyone's saying. You know nothing about them. You're curious to learn. Me too. Conditioned twinning. Yes, maybe Boop Cat. But I never had one, so my knowledge on how they work is limited, but it's basically an unhealthy attachment disorder issue. That's an interesting take, Boop Cat, for sure. Ariana has essentially said it's more than friends, King. Yes, but also no. I can't definitively find it because I tried to look for that as well. And they're both in relationships with other people, so unless that's part of the dynamic, I'm very unclear. It seems that there's a lot of speculation and rumor around what their actual relationship status is. You think a big part of it is PR. Hello, Mogwais. Caught your first live. Welcome, welcome. I'm glad you caught me. Like sometimes recently in an interview, but people wonder if it's a joke. But if it is, I think a joke is thinly veiling the truth, possibly, King. Yep. My partner insists they must have been physically intimate at some stage, but I'm not sure about that one. Now, I might be telling on myself a little bit here because why I say it reminds me of a teenage kind of thing is I think it's common, usually, especially for girls, just because of, social acceptance and things like that, where girls or best friends can get so intensively interested and obsessively interested in each other where it is just a friendship, but then layers start being added and then eventually it can build to an actual relationship. And during that obsessive part where layers are being added, it's not necessarily that there is going to be physical intimacy, or at least not in the way that we would know it as adults, but potentially a little bit more contact or a little bit of exploration. And I just feel like typically we don't see this in adult women, but that would be because we've learned who we are as we grow up and we kind of know what we're into a bit more and, things like that. So that's why I say if Ariana is operating on an arrested development level because of her upbringing, because of potentially trauma that's happened to her, it's possible that she's actually carrying out an adult relationship as though she were a teenager, if that makes sense. You don't think it's romantic, but sharing an intensive interest, can't say the A word, with someone is very intimate. That's so true, Marshmallow. And that could be what's going on, like a trauma bond almost. Just codependent besties to your mind, Tiger. Yeah, and it absolutely could be. So what I'm hoping to get out of today, I have a whole host of videos that we can watch and we can all talk about it. And I'm hoping to get a better idea about the foundation of their relationship so that we can understand better the condition that's going on clearly between the two of them. And I believe that the condition is not just these two, but there's more to the cast that are also unhealthy like this. I know that Ariana is a vegan, which can be problematic if you're not properly monitoring your intake. You were 100% like that with your best friend in college, but it never progressed to romance. Yeah, and I don't think it has to, but there's an extra layer of intimacy, isn't there, in that kind of thing. All the relationships like that you've seen ended so destructively, so you worry about where it's going. I agree with you, Boop Cat. I think that it's an unhealthy imbalance to be that obsessed with another person, and when it's almost like they've got hyperfixations on each other, right? And when that happens, it's problematic. Arrested development, that does make sense. I feel like it depends on how we define romantic. That's so subjective, and it really is. And I think the word intimacy makes a little bit more sense necessarily than romantic, just because it opens up that gray area. Your arrested development theory may hold some weight with how she bounces from relationship to relationship. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I did notice, because I did a little Wikipedia search to see if they had been listed as each other's, partners. I noticed that she'd been married and divorced. I didn't know that about her. Hello. Something so cultural about the Wicked cast. You're excited to hear my takes? Oh, I need to develop my takes first. Oh, no, sorry, not cultural, culty. Gotcha. Did you dirty? It did. And then I read it. Oh, it's all right. We got there. You had a friendship like this, and it indeed ended destructively because ultimately that behavior was coming from unhealed trauma. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like this kind of dynamic is relatively common. I find that really interesting to hear. And of those who have experienced an obsessive friendship or relationship like this, and you want to share, don't share if you don't want to, but roughly what age were you when this happened? Am I right in saying that this is a younger person kind of thing, generally speaking, and it might indicate an age of thought process that we're dealing with here? I don't know the SpongeBob. She's dating someone that's in Wicked. I don't know the people. So if that helps, I don't know. Look at Wikipedia. I'm so bad at retaining names. I really try, but it's difficult. She broke up a marriage with another cast member too. Oh, I could not be the other woman. You were 19 or 20? Yeah, so that's pretty young. Mid-20s? Yep. Okay. I was a little bit younger, but I don't think it matters. But the trauma was your childhood stuff for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Acting from those inner hurt children. Yeah, 19 to 22. And considering, is Ariana in her 30s? Yeah, I've forgotten. Cynthia's definitely more mature. I just need to do a quick search while I'm talking. Yeah, being the other woman and knowing that you're the other woman, like, it's one thing if the other person has lied to you about being married, but to knowingly enter into a marriage dynamic is so far beyond my moral, I don't like it. It's fine because you can get feelings for people and you can't necessarily control that, but the conversation becomes, well, you finish that first. If you decide to go that way, I will be here when it's all over and when you've healed. I don't believe that a healthy relationship can be spawned of breaking up a marriage. You're in your 40s and you have unhealthy fixations on a couple of your friends. That's okay, hello. I occasionally get suckered into hyperfixations with people. I really try to curb that because I know how unhealthy it can be. And usually, like my last hyperfixation on a person was Nikki Sixx. So I don't know him. I have no way of getting to know him, but I don't think anything good can come of. It's different than having a hyperfixation for a hobby or like a research interest or something like that. And I would never cover somebody that I have a hyperfixation on. Ariana is known for being a man stealer. Well, that's a charming quality, isn't it? You think you'd never had a best friend until college, so that's probably why you got so attached. That makes sense to me. Okay, sorry, I was looking up Ariana's name. You are all far too interesting and you distract me relentlessly. But we've got work to do here today, Nuggets, okay? So none of that nonsense today. Yeah, so Ariana is 32, so it's getting up there, but not outside the realm of Arrested Development. And is it Cynthia Erivo? She's 39. So a little bit of an age gap chronologically, but potentially, given Ariana's upbringing, the age gap mentally might be quite substantial. But having said that, I don't know. For all I know, Cynthia has Arrested Development too. You had an intense codependent friendship in your early 20s and it didn't end well. Yeah, it's unfortunate. That's just how it goes a lot of the time. Research time. Yes. Yeah, so early 20s does sound like a common consensus. Cynthia, I don't think is married, but she is in a long-term relationship. Ariana knew that he was married and it destroyed his wife. Oh, that's what happened to you with your ex, but you didn't find out until 5 years later. Oh my gosh. I don't know what you do with that. Women who willingly destroy another woman are mind-boggling. Garbage move. Yep. I'm someone, I've never cheated on any partner ever. I never would. If it got to that point, the conversation would be between the current partner and myself that's like, well, clearly something's wrong here. But I used to work with a woman who broke up a marriage, and she actually fell pregnant with while he was still married to his previous wife, and they had children together. He wound up leaving his wife and getting together with the mistress, the woman that I work with. They had their baby. The baby got leukemia, which was devastating. And to all of the woman's credit that I work with, she was doing such a wonderful job being with her baby and everything. To find out that he was cheating on her while she was in hospital with her baby, it's just, and then shocked that he did it, but clearly a cheater from the get-go. It's awful, awful stuff. You've never cheated either, 44 not once. I'm almost at your high score, Aloe. Yeah, super messy. Super messy. Okay, but let's get into this. So I have quite the lineup of things. My husband actually recommended this top one, but we'll watch that after. Apparently this woman is doing TikToks. I know my husband's recommending like research material. I love him for that. But apparently this woman goes quite deep into some of the body language that's going on, which is interesting. Why this is popping up on his TikTok, I have no idea. I don't know. I'm not going to ask questions. I accept him for who he is. But the rest of them are YouTube videos. Some of them are news videos, and that's the ones that I think may be problematic. So apology for replay nuggets in the future. You will lose some of the chat, obviously, if I need to cut it out, but we'll do the best with what we can. Good hubby, yes. Took a lot of years not to blame yourself. You shouldn't. Absolutely not. You are not the problem. Mr. Chokin. One of my favorite names that one of the nuggets coined me was Mother of Chookins, because just awesome. Does that make him Father of Chookins? Or does it make him a Chookin daddy? Which, by the way, I pulled this up because I totally clucked this up last time. And oh, Aloe, thank you so much for joining. Oh, welcome, Clucker. I appreciate you. But yeah, I fully clucked this up last time. For January nuggets, if your birthday is in January, this is your chicken daddy. I did it really late in my last stream, and I promised people that I'd do it at the beginning of every month and then forgot about it. But yeah, January nuggets, there you go. So yeah, Mr. Chicken Daddy, I will accept this name for him. Absolutely. And he nearly entered this because they did a they did a call for like people to apply to be a chicken daddy, and he nearly went in. It's just life got busy and he forgot about it, but Father of Chookins, first of his name. Lord and Protector of the Coop. I love it. That leg, yes. Yes, yes. Oh, your gift membership expired. Oh, time for the real deal. Oh, I love it. Okay. But let's get into this. These are in no particular order. I thought we would just kind of watch, kind of get a feel for it, and move on if things get too slow or whatever. But yeah, let's do this. Okay, so this first one is from a channel Top 10 Beyond the Screen. So it's quite short, but let's just have a look. It's called Something is Seriously Wrong with the Cast of Wicked Before and After Photos. So this is going to be focusing on the physical, but of course we know, and if you know this, Mother Clucker, I'm not going to just be looking at the physical because there is something very deep psychologically and behaviorally going on here.
Something is seriously wrong in Oz because the cast of Wicked just stepped out looking like they survived a tornado, a famine, and maybe a light haunting on the way to the premiere. Fans are zooming in into every photo like FBI agents, comparing before and after shots and asking one big question. Why does everyone suddenly look so drained, thin, and ghost level exhausted? Let's start with Michelle Yeoh. Now, normally she walks onto a carpet looking like an ageless, martial arts goddess who could knock out a villain with one eyebrow raise. But her recent appearance, people were shook. She showed up with this very dramatic blonde bob, very chic, very powerful, but the body transformation is what sent the internet spiraling. Her face looked sharper, her frame looked way smaller, and her arms were so thin people were generally asking, like, is she okay? It wasn't celebrity skinny, it was something, feels off skinny. Fans immediately started comparing older photos of her, and the difference is so dramatic, it sparked an entire health debate overnight. But Michelle wasn't the only one sending the internet into a panic. Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo showed up looking like the Wicked production schedule might have eaten them alive and spit out the leftovers. Ariana, whose, fans already obsessively monitor her, looked even smaller than usual, and the conversation around her weight exploded instantly again. People were saying her collarbone.
Yeah. I would definitely say that these pictures are way past the point of, just we're being very physically, because there's a lot of dancing in it and things like that. It's a little more than that. Not as far as Eugenia, but we're definitely approaching that kind of territory, clearly. Yo, you've seen this clip, Kex. You wanted to know how hard this cast was worked. Were they never given meal breaks? And I mean, that's the thing. Clearly, the job that they're doing, especially not just for the movie, but for the actual stage performance, it's going to be quite physically intense. And I imagine that they're probably practicing a lot through the weeks, and there's probably a lot of actual physical work going on, which is all the more reason to make sure that you're looking after your intake appropriately, because that's not going to be sustainable. I wasn't able to find it again, but I found a video of somebody recreating what Ariana consumes in a day, and I'll probably find it for the actual video that I do on this, but it worked out to maybe 1,200 calories. And if you were somebody of Ariana's size and you were completely sedentary, that would probably be okay, because Ariana is clearly a naturally petite individual, and we're not going to criticize her for that. That's just her body shape, right? But if you're consuming that and you're doing a whole lot of dance work, a whole lot of stage work, this is a full-time physical job for you, then that becomes a big problem. And that is kind of circling around the area of condition that I had when I was younger, where it's you are consuming, that's not the problem, but you are also over-exercising for that consumption. Reminds you of Tumblr inspiration pictures you used to turn to. It is a little bit like that. It is not, Caden, the S word that you've used for hyper restriction. I think it's probably, like I say, way over exercising compared to what you're taking in. So too much is going out versus what's going in. It's concerning.
Bones were practically doing press tours on their own. Cynthia, who's always had this very powerful athletic presence, suddenly looked way more hollowed out, like the intense filming sucked the...
Yeah, that's noticeable. Look, her face and her arms, and yeah. It looks like she's still got quite a bit of muscle tone, so she probably is still doing exercising and looking after her body in that regard, but clearly just not taking in enough to compensate for that, which I can't express to you when you are working out. Because my situation was I was working out, doing martial arts 7 days a week. One moment, sorry. We're not quite outside of hay fever season. It's still super fun. 7 days a week I was training, and I was way under consuming for the amount of exercise that I was doing. And it makes you feel awful. You feel so tired all the time. And I actually had one thing happen that I didn't connect at the time to what was going on, but looking back at my situation, I woke up one night, this was in the thick of it, at the peak of my training, and I was, doing so much. I woke up in the middle of the night with the most excruciating stomach cramps, like hunger stomach cramps, that had me doubled over, and I managed to drag myself into the kitchen to just put something in my stomach. And that's the result of what I was doing to myself. Looking back on it, I mean, clearly that's what was going on. I just thought at the time, because your mind's not working properly, I thought I just wasn't feeling well or hadn't eaten enough that night or whatever. But it was so bad that it actually has had psychological on-run effects that now I can't go to bed or sleep if I'm at all hungry, which is an issue because now I'm on a more of a weight loss journey since I swung way in the other direction. And sleeping on a full stomach is problematic as well. And so, but it's such a horrible thing to do to your body in the way that these women are doing it. Just catching up on comments because I really want to hear what you all have to say about this. Vera reminds me of my comment on Patreon about conditions that build themselves on healthy things. Yes, exactly, King. King, who are you on Patreon? I've not made this connection. I'm so sorry if you've told me. I try to retain everything and do a very poor job at it. It's in no way an indication of how important you all are to me. It's really not. It's just my brain. Imagine being in this state and seeing news coverage, analyzing your body. Yeah. I hope they don't. I don't search myself, and I'm tiny. Compared to these women, they're celebrities. I hope they don't search themselves. You don't think you've seen her smile like that in the first picture in any... Oh, you're right. And she has such a lovely smile. The hunger literally starts making you feel insane. You know those pains all too well. Yeah, messed up your digestive system permanently. Oh, boob cat. Oh, gotcha. Thank you, King. Oh, so you are... Oh, you're supporting twice. Oh, for shame. Thank you, but you really don't have to do that. You're in the snack crew. You don't really like to be super identifiable. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay.
Soul right out of her. Her jawline alone could probably cut glass, and not in a snatched way, in a very are you sleeping and eating kind of way. People said the whole premiere looked like a before and after collage that nobody really asked for. I mean, even Jeff Goldblum, usually the picture of eccentric, chaotic vitality, he always looks good to me. I mean, he looked more fragile than usual. The younger cast members, same story. Theories were...
No, that man is perfect and majestic. That is all.
Wild. Some said the filming schedule was brutal and physically exhausting. Others said the cast went super hardcore into restrictive diets to match their characters' looks. Some insisted the entire cast must have just gone vegan overnight. And a very loud crowd said, nope, this is not aesthetic, this is concerning. The buzz wasn't, they look great, it was why does...
The fact that it's a lot of them, though, does make me think that maybe there's a very rigorous schedule going on, or are they all kind of feeding into each other's insecurities? There's a lot of moving parts that it could be here. So, Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone looks sick. The whole thing turned into a storm of body image debates, accusations of toxic Hollywood standards, and people begging the internet to stop commenting while simultaneously refreshing every new angle. Here's the thing, the difference between their older photos and their premiere photos is so extreme, it's impossible not to talk about it. These actors went from glowing, vibrant, full of energy to looking like they just finished filming the 7th season of a survival show. It's not glamorous, it's not polished, it's not even dramatic.
That's actually a good point, Caden. Ozempic could be on the table here. I mean, we don't know, do we? We couldn't know. That man can do no wrong, thank you. He is the highlight for me in Jurassic Park. Yeah. Glorious man.
Lighting. It's a cast that looks collectively exhausted, overly thin, and honestly just unwell. So yeah, something in the land of Oz is off, way off, whether it's the workload, the stress, the aesthetics, the industry expectations, or something we haven't even heard yet. You know, the before and after photos, they tell a story, and it's not a magical one. Let me know your thoughts on this though. I'm your host, Ashley. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.
Because of things that I've been researching, obviously, I actually don't research on Vera the Chukin. I research on my private account, just because, you know, if things wind up getting blocked or whatever, I get a much cleaner look because I don't interact with anything on my private accounts. But because I've been shown that, I have now completely forgotten what I was talking about. Oh dear. Yeah. No problem, Fire Rabbit. Thank you so much for coming in and watching me forget what I'm talking about. Oh yes, I remember, sorry. I was shown a short where somebody was showing, you know, the pictures like we've just been seeing and saying, everyone's talking about this, but these are the real photos. And then they show retouched photos. They're so clearly retouched, where the photos that we've just seen on the screen seem to be the untouched versions, but there are actually, you know, ones that kind of smooth out the bone situation and all of that. And some people think that that's the real situation, not what we've just seen. But there's just far too many coming out. I don't know. Like, it could be just this big conspiracy where people just want to buy into making all of these women look like this and saying that they've been overworked or they're on Ozempic or whatever. But it just, like, why? If that's the case. Have you watched his Hot Ones interview? He's fabulous. I don't think so. I will always watch Jeff Goldblum though when he comes up. Wonderful. So that's a little clip. This one is a longer one by someone called Derek Van Shake, I think. I'm going to link all of these afterwards. Why Ariana Grande and Cynthia Avero became so creepy after Wicked. So this is more about their interactions that they're having after the fact. And this is what really interests me. You think it's less believable that it's conspiracy. I agree. It's just like, I don't know. It's possible, everything's possible, but realistically, I think horses, not zebras. You're glad H chic seems to be going out of style. It did make a little comeback, didn't it? It's going to be Ozempic chic. This would have been seen so differently a few decades ago. It really would have. Oh, speaking about that, also, hello, Watermelon. Hi. I actually just had a moment of, I was watching one of those things of like, you know, top songs that were in the 90s, because that's where I live musically. And in my mind's eye, do you remember the song Pretty Fly for a White Guy? I can't play it. But in my memory, I had that there are girls dancing around the pool in the video. And in my memory, I had them as quite full-figured, curvy, kind of, for lack of a better term, thick women. And that from a 90s eye was how I viewed these women. Looking at it now, like as a grown-ass adult, they are not curvy. They are not thick. They're really not. You have permission if you want to go look at it. You can leave and come back. Like you need my permission. Yeah, I think we are going to move away from the body acceptance, body positivity stuff and into more of that line again since the rise of Ozempic. I see where that's going. Chicken coop going silent listener. Okay, no problems. But you'll be here all stream. I love the lurkers. I get a lot of them. I am one myself when I'm in a stream. It's one of the most socially accepted conditions it is.
That's a nice question. An aura.
Yellow.
For me?
Sunshine.
What weird and abnormal psychology is going on with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo?
You can't get me.
They were both relatively normal before filming the two Wicked movies. And then curiously, they and others in the Wicked cast seem to become physically and psychologically unwell. So has filming Wicked somehow turned them mentally ill? Is it something like role internalization? Or are Oz movies cursed? So we're gonna break down their very abnormal psychology and behavior to finally reveal what's actually going on with the Wicked cast. Now, let's get started.
Well, you have been the light of the day. You are such a gift.
You brought such light into the room.
Ariana, who plays Glinda, the Witch of the North, and Cynthia, who plays Elphaba, the Witch of the West, are the co-stars of the two recent Wicked movies, and they have gotten curiously close.
Are they? What are they?
On our hands? We have for good on our hands.
Yes.
And they,
Now that's in like,
we got them on opposite, so when we hold hands, they touch.
Okay, so this is definitely getting into that kind of, you know, obsessive, at least friendship, because we're not going to be here to define their relationship necessarily, but that there is clearly an obsessive intimacy going on with that to get matching tattoos that link up when you hold hands is not what I would say necessarily, although not wrong, but necessarily what we would see from adult friends. Right? And I think this sort of thing, it's one example. Yes, this could be done in a healthy way and have absolutely no problem at all. But the problem with, I think, what we're about to start watching is this is one instance of a series of, let's say, more than friendship, intimate behaviors.
Before Ariana and Cynthia played in these Wicked movies, they appeared to be much more normal, both physically, behaviorally, and psychologically. However, as filming began, they quickly started looking and acting very odd.
Something's bothering her. She's gonna fix something. I know. She's getting the fixing itch.
From a behavioral body language perspective, constant unnecessary touching is to remind the other that they belong to each other and to tell the world that they possess one another. Now watch this clip and see what you think of Cynthia's stare.
I was just going to say, I've actually seen that clip. So Cynthia, she actually moved the necklace around and then moved it back to the relatively the same spot. So it is a performative action that she did there, not a functional one.
There. Right, she seems extremely territorial and fixated on Ariana's hug, and her eyes suddenly widen deeply at Ariana when they release that embrace to apparently inspect her level of joy from that hug in what appears to be jealousy. Although they often claim
No, I don't think that's necessary. That's a reach, and I'm sorry, my dude, but I've never seen your videos before. Clearly thinks himself of a, you know, psychological reader here. This can be read as more things than just jealousy. That is one take that could be going on. And it's actually this clip that made me wonder if there was actually a maternal dynamic going on, because this could actually be also seen as concern. Or what if Ariana has expressed that she doesn't like to be touched by this person or touched by people in these events, and so Cynthia is reacting to that. There are so many reasons why she might be looking like this, But having said that, I will concur that it is unusual, especially on a red carpet, especially when there's cameras, that we would see this kind of thing. And I think what this shows is Cynthia is putting her relationship dynamic, whatever that may be, with Ariana above her professionalism of being on the red carpet. And that is quite telling to me. Just reading comments. Sorry, I don't mean to go quiet when I go quiet. I'm conscious that you can't see my face, so when I'm quiet and reading, you can't see that I'm quiet and reading. So, yeah, I don't fully. Hello, Neo, over on Twitch. You read this as protectiveness, yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to be reacting to this creator. But I didn't like that take, and now everything he says is brought into question for me, which I would have liked to have seen a bit more open-mindedness from someone who is claiming to do a psychological breakdown. That concerns me. But regardless, the information is still going to be collated for us. We don't necessarily need to be taking on what he says. Attachment conditions do come with defensive tendencies. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like I say, I don't know which one it is. I just think it's worth approaching this with an open mind to go, is it jealousy? It absolutely could be, but it could also be protectiveness. It could be, I don't know. There's a whole range of things it could be just off the top of my head. Yeah. I'm so sorry, my nuggets. Chickens are going off. Be right back. Have a water break, everybody. Sorry. Everything's okay. Oh, but now I've sprinted. And the worst thing about this is coming back and having to talk, and I'm like, oh, out of breath. I sprint out there and then I sprint back. Just catching up. On chat, have you seen the clip where a fan broke through, security to get Ariana and Cynthia stepped between them? That clip is why I feel like there's definitely a level of protectiveness. I think I'm actually going to cover that in one of the videos I've got. Sorry, just catching my breath. GLP-1s become affordable. Super thinness will probably fade out of trend again. Yeah, and this always moves in and out of trends. The way Cynthia ran her hands over Ariana's sides during the security incident was kind of weird and possessive, which is part of what feeds my suspicion of an attachment disorder. Yeah, I think you're onto something there, Boobcat, for sure. Hello, Jane. Welcome. Hello. So glad you came in.
They are not romantically involved.
Really sweet how you touch each other. You like to touch like
It's a secret skill.
Jealousy in any type of relationship is psychologically destructive. You know why? Right, because it shifts the focus from connection to control, creating an anxious pattern of fear where they constantly monitor the other's reactions, attention, and level of emotional availability. Over time, this erodes trust, amplifies insecurity, and turns even innocent interactions into perceived threats, which can poison their entire relationship dynamic. Although Cynthia seems to show her jealousy much more than Ariana, watch this.
Play the clarinet.
Do you play that?
he played
Well, I play-
that
yeah, I
in
did
Jurassic
play it.
Park.
I did, yeah.
Do you actually play that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I did, but it's sort of a real, yeah.
I used to play.
Did you? The clarinet?
Yes, that
Oh
was
my
my
God.
instrument.
Look at Ariana's expression of disappointment with that asymmetric.
I'm sorry, I cannot respect this man. Firstly, that look could be completely nothing. There are so many people that stand off to the side, like managers and producers and all that kind of thing. Like when you're sitting in an interview room like this, there's heaps of people sitting behind the interviewer and behind the cameras, and this could mean anything. This is not evidence, sir. I'm not. Okay, Nuggets, I'm going to recenter myself. We're not reacting to this man. I just don't think that this is proof of anything at all. It's been a few weeks since you watched The Girls, and probably a good time for a girl break. I'm feeling the same way. I cannot bring myself to bring any more attention to that shit show over there. I don't want to be part of making them relevant, and so I am also having a break. Sometimes you think these body language analysis channels are a bit too confident considering how subjective body language is. Yes, I've only seen one because I'm also very interested in body language, but it's so contextual, and I've only seen one that says this, how like much of an art form it is. This dude and his outfit made you think of Oz. He may have done that intentionally. You can't take a turtleneck seriously. One of my favorite things to wear is a black turtleneck. And I get so upset because it's like, what's her name? The Theranos chick. Elizabeth, can't think. No, it's gone. Took it and made it weird. But he's still collating the clips for us, which is helpful. Holmes, yes. Thank you, Neo. Yes.
Smirk because Cynthia and Jonathan are now bonding over a commonality. And now listen to what Ariana says here.
I played the French horn.
Doesn't that moment remind you of this viral SpongeBob sound?
Oh no, I lost my pen.
You can borrow mine.
Thanks.
I lost something once.
Ariana didn't always speak and act so whimsical.
We love you, thank you.
Because if you recall, she used to speak a little bit like an airhead when she played Kat.
Have these amazing opportunities to learn about auditioning and acting and singing and modeling, and it's really awesome. And I think it's very empowering.
And then spoke more urban when she was singing hip-hop.
Me pretending I know anything about any other sign except cancer.
Okay, one thing I will say here, because her history and her upbringing is definitely going to be part of this puzzle. Like, it's a piece in it. And I think everything that we know about the way Nickelodeon operated, and even things that I've learned from Jeanette McCurdy's book, it's like when you're in that kind of dynamic, you're being dictated who you are, what your persona is, and how you're going to act at any point, because you are always representing the thing that you're working on, right? And I could understand, and a little bit drawn from my own experience here too, because I was I was also told who to be and how to act and what to wear and things like that. I could see that coming out of that and moving into adulthood and learning how to be your own entity, it's totally understandable that Ariana has inconsistent personas, especially public personas, because she will have gone through a time of like trying different things, seeing what fits, seeing what feels right, and now potentially she's probably still trying things. She's probably still not being, exactly who she wants to be. But this is not weird to me that there's a shift. Like, not at all. Did you ever see the Holmes deep dive by Coffee and Colts? Actually, I haven't seen that yet, Aloe. I'm gradually working through her backlog. She'll probably cover Ariana at some point too. Yeah, I don't doubt. The way she has no solid individual identity makes me sad for her. Yeah, it's just part of the process though. Hi, Creed. Hello. You're not that late, really. No, you're good. So glad you're here. So, yeah, this is not reading odd to me, just a result of basically what she's gone through. We even see smaller versions of that. Like, I know that we have a lot of millennials in here. For example, when you think about Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, when they came onto the scene, they were given an image. And it wasn't until, a couple of albums down the track where they had so much success, where they were reaching into womanhood and adulthood, where they could say, no, I want to portray this a bit more, or I want to be a little bit more authentic to myself in this regard. And once the money starts rolling in from these sorts of things, that's where artists start to get more say about how they want to be and what they want to do. So it's not weird. Maybe weird for a normal, healthy upbringing, but not for a child star. Some people never move past reflecting others and find their own identity. That's very true, Boopcat, for sure. Her different eras are bizarre. Yes, the race switch thing is yeah. I mean, it's an identity, isn't it? Your race is part of your identity. You think Ariana is weird because she goes past that? Maybe. No, Tiger. I wasn't using Britney Spears as an example of good mental health. I was using her as an example of how producers work. You have the greatest respect for her and everything she's gone through, but let's be real. I agree with you. Britney is somebody that I'd like to cover at some point. I have so much empathy for her. But yeah, no, not a good example of mental health at all. Hi, French. Hello. I'm so sorry, by the way, French. I was hoping you'd pop in because I wanted to say I saw you pop up in Charlie Gold's chat, and I was messaging Charlie in her chat and also editing a video and trying to be an octopus chicken and failed, and then realized I didn't respond to you, and I'm sorry for that. So hello from the other day as well.
I know who with me, and it's Taurus.
When she became more mainstream, she spoke with no noticeable accent.
Oh, this is a good one. Who was my first celebrity crush?
So why this sudden change? We're going to reveal that soon.
And if you need to cry right now, you cry.
Ariana and Cynthia seem to now be obnoxiously babying one another and acting like trauma victims together by psychologically reinforcing a mutual caretaking dynamic, where they each receive emotional comfort from acting vulnerable and receiving reassurance from the other.
Fan tried to ambush singer Ariana Grande during her Wicked for Good movie premiere.
This indicates that they enjoy feeling they are protecting and being protected by one another, which is evidenced by this very odd moment where Cynthia goes to support Ariana's elbow as if it's extremely frail when the interviewer shakes her arm out of apparent-friendly excitement. Then Cynthia oddly cradle hugs Ariana's arm here, followed by Ariana presenting her wrist to to appear broken and limp to apparently gain the physical attention of Cynthia to care for her with a kiss on her wrist. It's like,
what do we think of that? This guy's so condescending. Yeah, I'm not a super big fan, I'll say. No problem, don't be silly. Thank you, French. So, I'll just go back to the. So, whenever I look at things, I always do this little exercise in my mind of like, okay, so this is what we're seeing. What are some of the additional context factors that could be happening in this moment? What are some alternative explanations that might be going on, just to get past that knee jerk? Because I just experienced a knee jerk watching this, and this my knee jerk reaction for this was, this is weird, and I just want to try and think about what else it could be other than just this looks really overprotective. And this also does, I don't know, it blurs the line, doesn't it, between like maternal and romantically intimate. So I'm interested to hear what everyone thinks, because in this moment I'm really struggling to think what else this is. Usually this is my process behind the scenes, by the way. Weird, but could also be intentionally being silly. Yeah, like an in-joke. Maybe they have a silly little thing going on. A little bit like what we were watching last live stream between Johnny Gilbert and his girlfriend Grace. Like, clearly they have a little in-joke with baby talk, and so, like, is it weird? Maybe it's weird publicly in front of a camera, but could just be an in-joke. Very teenager-like. You're like, okay, that's weird. The theatrics are wild. Maybe you're biased, but it suggests possession to you. It's kind of where my mind went to. And see, this is the thing, when we look at things, we all look at the same video and the same clip, and we all apply our own biases, our own filters, our own experiences over the lens that we're looking at, like at the video that we're looking at. And it's interesting to hear. And yeah, from my perspective, with my history with my mother, this looks bad and dangerous. This is the kind of thing girls did in middle school. You think they're Anna bonding? Mm-hmm. You find a friend, trauma bond over conditions, and also compete with each other. Yeah, we were discussing that a bit earlier, French, and I think that is a really valid take. Benefit of the doubt, maybe she hurt her arm recently. Yeah, maybe Cynthia has context that it's like she's dealing with an elbow or a wrist injury. Yeah, that's valid. These women are media trained, they know better. Yeah. So does that make it performative? Given their state, physical injuries would happen easily. Yeah, for sure. But also you could see that a lot of dancing, a lot of repetitive work, it's super easy to get like a bursitis injury that takes a really long time to heal. Now that you're seeing all these clips together, you wonder if Ariana didn't speak to Cynthia about wishing she was as strong and would stop allowing people to touch her when she didn't want them to. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I got off that other one where she was looking quote unquote jealous. You'll be listening, no problem, Creed. I appreciate the lurk. You see Cynthia's acting in a way as to take attention from Ariana onto herself too. Okay, that's definitely a different take. So some sort of professional, competitive vibe. You feel like it's a super codependent friendship, like Ariana wants the protection and Cynthia feels that she needs to protect her. Ariana definitely does give off a little bit of a victimhood vibe, like, you know, I'm so meek, I'm just a tiny little girl, protect me, you know, there is that vibe about her. Whether she means to give that off or not, that is absolutely the vibe that she's giving off. There's too many instances of touching over familiarity to be a one-off situation. There is an established pattern. It's either possession or staged for PR. Yeah. Or an in-joke for sure. Could be. It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting to look at these things. And ultimately, none of us are going to really know the truth because we're not in the room with either of these women. But it's good to critically think about all of the different aspects that it can be.
To care for her with a kiss on her wrist. Psychologically, this is because they want that type of immature, exaggerated, nurturing attention from the other, because also, watch this clip.
Not the time, helicopter! Go. Hey.
Yes, Cynthia becomes emotionally.
So I'm sure that I'm going to find a way to articulate this much better in my pre-recorded videos. But what this kind of felt like, and why I think this sort of thing supports the obsessive friendship, at least friendship angle, is that I think when you're in those sorts of relationships or friendships, it's easy to kind of create your own little normal in your interactions, and there's going to be a lot of interactions in that scenario. And so it's almost like not quite an in-joke, but like a mini micro culture that you create with each other. And this just, like I say, I'm not articulating this properly. It's a feeling that I'm trying to portray. This, to me, reminds me of just that kind of like micro culture that can develop. And it doesn't make sense from the outside looking in, but it makes complete sense to the individuals who are in it. But the fact that it's overriding their professionalism and their promotion tours and things like that, that's interesting. One moment. You agree it seems very normal for them? Have you seen Ariana videos where she repeats, "They erased my memory"? No, I haven't. That's interesting. Before Cynthia. Okay. And see, that brings into the shared trauma that we were talking about earlier. It's, yeah. To be fair, you think the guy shaking her hand was being very intense. Yeah, and the response seems to be a bit of a joke. I can see that too. Yeah, for sure.
In this interview, and Ariana apparently believes that Cynthia was bothered by the aviation flying above. So Ariana tried to shoo the helicopter away with her hand that was flying at about 5,000 feet above them. But psychologically, why did Ariana do that? Yes.
Dude, it was a joke. She was being quirky and, I don't know, funny. Dude. It almost feels like Ariana is having a hard time shaking off the Glinda, I should say, airheadedness, maybe. This clip in particular felt very Glinda. And actually, that's a good point, Kex, because you reminded me that they both clearly, and I know that they're kind of on promotional tours and even on the red carpet and things like that, you notice that they're always in pink and green, like respectively. I do think that there is very much we are taking part of our characters into us, which also I think aligns with an obsessive, intimate friendship, because that's where they bonded. So it makes sense that there's going to be, if this is the case, we don't know it is, but it would make sense that there is going to be an aspect of how they both bonded overlaid on the relationship that they have. This guy doesn't know women, I fear. I don't know if has he met people? Someone check this guy's credentials. Oh, look, it's a big channel. He's very popular. It was a dorky joke. Yeah, that's how I read it. The crying is what makes you uncomfortable, looks very unstable. Yeah, it could also be performative though, for sure.
Yes, even though Ariana must have known logically that those efforts were futile, she apparently wanted to make sure Cynthia knew she cared about her poor emotional state, to try anything within her power to remove the annoying Sky lawnmower. However, it's quite interesting that they only act like this when they are together, because when they are alone, specifically Ariana Grande, acts much more normal. Watch.
Burpee is in high knees with Robert De Niro. And he's like, good job, Olivia, good job. And it's like the craziest, most surreal thing in my life. I'm like, what is this movie? What are we doing?
Her sister was a witch, right? And what was her sister? A princess. The Wicked Witch of the East, bro. I'm gonna stab him. You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong? It's my favorite movie. Wore a crown and she came down in a bubble, dog.
Cry my glitter off. I'm gonna go blind from glitter.
No, you both have to stop.
It was
Jesus.
the highlight of my life.
We've cried 500 times today.
We didn't get context. Why were they crying in that clip? You can't just show random crying and not give the context. Hi, Eliza. We're not even halfway through. You're good. You're good. Thank you for coming in. Oh, maybe she was trying to make Cynthia laugh. Yeah. Right. We're not watching for him. It is distracting though, isn't it? He's so kindly collated all of these clips for us though.
We've done it
today.
We've
We've been crying since 6 in the morning.
We are not doing it.
But we just had our own private cry in the parking lot.
They apparently cry multiple times a day together, which doesn't appear to be completely authentic, because there doesn't appear to be any real reason to become emotional. Then why do you think they cry so much then? Yes, they're using emotion to proactively create artificial moments of bonding.
This is crazy.
This is where they can cradle and baby each other because it feels good to feel like a victim with all of that attention.
It's okay.
I almost wonder too, because I don't know much about Cynthia's past at all. But is it possible as well that neither one of them have had a completely supportive environment before, and they're both kind of getting dopamine hits and endorphin hits off doing that for each other? So it's almost like using each other as the button to press the feel-good hormones coming through. The crying is weird, I agree, but it could be part of their little microculture as well. You disagree with this guy? Yes. I think we have a consensus. But look how big the channel is. It's such a big channel, 665,000. I don't know. You truly do find your people. Like, I think there's an audience out there for everybody. I'm working on a Rachel video, and that's the one that I've got to record after this. And I can already hear my voice getting tired, which is great. But it's a point that I'm going to make in that video too. She's going to find her people. There is an audience out there for what she wants to do. And yeah. Maybe they were high, either emotionally or chemically. The Wicked set was dreadful and they had to shoot back to back. No way they felt good or supported. They work like beasts. That's an interesting insight, French, because that's what I was wondering. It was the work schedule so vigorous. And I imagine that the stage one was also vigorous. Is now a good time to tell you that I haven't actually watched this movie, and maybe I should? Maybe it would bring some things into context. I might do that before I make the video. Don't worry, a lot of research goes into my videos. You haven't seen it either, Neo. The fake news anchor intonation of this man is grating. I agree with you, Invader. I always cringe a little bit when a speech pattern is clearly not a natural one, but that's just me. It's a subjective thing, but we agree. Maybe it's a dopamine hit, yeah. But the elephant in the room is they're both actors. Yeah, that's very valid. There's definitely a layer of dopamine addiction involved. Yeah, I agree. There's something, because here's the thing. People, as human beings, generally speaking, we're fairly lazy as a species. And what I mean by that is we only change things, we only do things if there is a payoff. We do things for a reason. Very, very rarely is it just like some random idle thing. There's always going to be some manner of payoff. They are, by doing this, getting some kind of payoff. The payoff could just be the PR. It really could. It could be no deeper than this, and we could all just be, speculating, and that's what they want. We're buying into the whole point of this. But the payoff could also be that dopamine hit because they're getting something out of it. So it's this is what I'm just trying to get a handle on, is what is the mechanism that's happening here? Most likely, of course, because we're not going to know, but it's still very up in the air for me at the moment. Just catching up on comments. You've not watched it because you know it'll trigger you. Oh. Okay. Is there trigger-worthy content in it? I thought it was just like a prequel. So you have a theory. Cynthia and her younger sister were raised by a single mom. I wonder if she spent her childhood protecting her little sister, and now that big sister energy has shifted to Ariana. That is very insightful. Is she used to being the quote-unquote mother in the room? And do we know, does Ariana have an issue with her mother? Because if we have mummy issues on Ariana's behalf, and we have a mummy complex on Cynthia's behalf, the two meet at a vulnerable time, working intensely together, and then this forms. You saw the first film during Christmas, it's added some context. Okay, I'll definitely watch it, for sure. I like to research thoroughly, as you know, so I will be doing everything. I just thought this would be a fun one to chat about together. You don't think Ariana knows who she is to begin with. She always falls very deep into her characters to the point where her voice changes. She's a chameleon. And that's sad, because that shows a great deal of instability growing up. Ariana has stayed Glinda. It's quite strange. Do you know, in Britney Spears' book, she discussed, which, by the way, I really wish Britney had have waited like a good 5 to 10 more years before writing that book. It was just too soon. Things are not sorted in her mind to be able to have written that book effectively, but she talked about in her book how she didn't like acting because she always felt like the character overtook her. It's like she didn't have the skills to be able to separate her from the character she was playing. And apparently she was supposed to play Roxy in Chicago, which I would have loved to have seen, but she turned it down because she didn't want that character to overtake her persona in any way. And if Ariana is experiencing something similar to that, I think that really shows like a lack of personal self-stability and like almost like a lack of self, a sense of self in a way. And I think it really overshadows, like it's showing something very concerning. Hot take, child stars shouldn't be a thing. Totally agree with you, Tiger. I have some very strong thoughts about that particular topic. And you know, every time I see like a baby or a toddler, I always think, I hope this is CG or like a robot to some description, because who the cluck has a child and goes, you know what, the first thing I want to do is stick it in front of a camera for the world to see it. Obscene. Absolutely obscene. Also, another elephant in the room. I love these, Amanda. Ariana was obsessed with Broadway and Wicked as a kid. Oh, her main focus was acting, and Glinda was the pinnacle role she wanted since childhood. Interesting. Okay. Very interesting. Maybe I almost wonder, because I don't know if it's a psychological condition. I'll research this too, but I almost wonder if it's risky for people who do not have a strong sense of self and are able to separate themselves from the role. I wonder if it's risky for those people to be actors. So maybe she views herself as the highest form of herself. Interesting. And I think all of us would sit here and argue that she is any sort of herself at all, because it doesn't seem like she's finished developing that. Hello, Darkwick. Hi. Welcome. If she has wanted it so long, the come down after it's going to be brutal. That is a real downside to having a massive goal, especially a goal that requires you to work towards it for years. If you do not have yourself properly prepared for after that goal, like having another goal to work towards, or if you haven't experienced that come down, it can be devastating. And I mean devastating to the point of psychologically or career ruining devastating. And you're right. Hopefully she is prepared for that. Also, can we talk about how Ariana's boyfriend is the spitting image of her brother? Really? Okay. You think those are the kinds of people most likely to be an actor? That's unfortunate. Bad things during childhood does a lot of damage, and she was on Nickelodeon. Yes, exactly, French. One of the first things I said as well, I think that is a very, very important part of what we're looking at here. Because, like I say, I don't know a lot about Ariana, but I know a lot about Jeanette McCurdy, and I mean, they were on the same show. They were around the same people with the same issues, with the same guy there. There's no way that she came out of that unscathed. Even if she was the favorite and the golden child. And in some cases, you might say that may have been worse for her. We don't know.
It's okay. It's a good question.
However, it's important to understand what I exactly said there. Feeling like a victim emotionally feels good with coddling and attention. Actually being a victim of a true horrible situation doesn't feel good. In other words, they seem to be indulging in the performance of vulnerability, using exaggerated softness and fragility as a way to feel emotionally validated and cared for by each other.
We're a bunch of crybabies over here.
In this free world, they can act however they want, but psychologically, it's not a healthy relationship that will last very long. Do you know why? Yes, because a relationship built on exaggerated vulnerability rather than emotional stability eventually collapses under its own weight.
This isn't going where I thought it would go.
When the relationship bond depends on constant and ever-increasing displays of fragility, emotion, and reassurance, both people become trapped in roles they can't possibly maintain. The moment one stops performing this act of helplessness, or the other stops providing immediate and non-stop caretaking to the other, the entire dynamic begins to fall apart.
Okay, so Cynthia and I are very, very, very close in age. And I'm curious why a fully formed adult would be buying into something like this. If it's not PR, I mean. And I kind of it makes me wonder about Cynthia, because I'm not saying, don't take away from this that if you do this, I'm saying it's wrong. I'm questioning where Cynthia is on the spectrum of psychological stability and, you know, growth as an adult. Like, personally speaking, someone that's gone through a lot of trauma, someone that's built themselves up and done a complete 180 on who I was, because I absolutely identify this in my identify with this in my past. But as I am today, as the person that I've formed myself into, I could not tolerate this. It's like the perpetual softness, the perpetual victimhood. You know, if you were in my life perpetually like that, it would wear thin very, very quickly, because I'm someone that holds action and strength. And even if that action and strength is coming in the form of I'm doing it scared or I'm doing it unsure, that's fine. But so long as there's action, you know, do the clucking thing. I wonder where Cynthia is sitting mentally in all of this, if that makes sense. As someone with a very rough childhood and adulthood, I too struggle with identity and personality. No idea what kind of person I am or who I am inside. You just go with the flow. I kind of like that, Darkwick. If it helps, having gone through that myself, I think the first part or the first step of finding out who you are is helpful to define yourself as who you aren't. You know, who are you not? What would you not do? Things like that. And sometimes in the definitions of defining what isn't leaves you with what is, and there's comfort in that. I don't know if that helps, but that's what I did. Trauma bonding? Possibly. Yeah. If they were victims in the past, this could be bond over trauma relapse. Yes, it absolutely could. She thinks a fan-made poster was the worst thing ever done, so I don't know how much she ever endured, to be honest. Well, I think I read she's from Nigeria, or at least a country close to that. And she was also, I had read, and it's been mentioned here, raised by a single mother who must have fought very hard to get ahead in any way, shape, or form. So I do think that there's probably something there, just based on those set of, yeah. Unless they were very, very well off in Nigeria, you know, there is a very large economical divide. I don't know. There might be something there. You're that way authentically. Be whoever, but be you, or I have no tolerance, so she would drive you insane. Yeah, I agree. Be yourself. Oh, I'm so glad that helps, Darkwick. It's a journey too. Don't expect discovering who you are to be rapid. And I think especially when you're doing it as an adult, it can be very easy to look around at your, you know, generational peers and see that they seemingly have it together and think that you need to get it together very rapidly. But the reality is they took the same amount of time, they just did it a bit younger. So don't be fooled by like a recency effect. Give yourself time and let it evolve. To be generous, if she never had control over her image, any unsolicited image could be upsetting, fair, in the manner of feeling out of control. Yeah, like a body dysmorphia thing, almost. People who went through real stuff don't lose their mind on a fan for a post. Yeah. One alternate perspective, though, French, that I will give you. She's nuts. It's possible. It is possible for somebody who has gone through something very serious, so serious that they don't want to look at it, like the monster under the bed. Just if you just don't look, it can't hurt you, it's fine. But that's a flawed mentality, we know. But it is possible for people that have been through that to put such a layer of denial over the top and almost delusion that overreacting to small, insignificant things could make sense. I'm not going to say that that is what's happening, but it's possible that that's what's happening.
Listen, relationships built on emotional theatrics rarely survive once real life replaces the fantasy that they've created together.
What do you think?
I think we'll be...
Executive decision, I don't like this man. Let's move on. Sorry if that upset anyone. I'll probably go back and watch it on my own, but...
What is with these creepy...
Okay, so this one is a channel called Patience with Xtina. Or Christina? What's up with Ariana and Cynthia? Yes, Boobcat transferred anger from one situation to another. Yes, that's pretty much what I was trying to get at. I don't know. I mean, if the making of the movies was brutally hard and they were supposed to portray fairy tale Wonderland now to the press, maybe the loviness to each other as if they were princesses? Yeah, maybe. But it is weird though. It is weird for actors to promote a movie or a stage performance in the character that they were playing. I'm not going to say it's never happened, but it is unusual, right? So why would they choose to do that? Would the producers have told them to do that? Or do they just feel like that's the best way to do it? I don't know. There's so many questions, my nuggets. I have questions.
Creepy interviews. They're just crying, shaking, and stroking each other. Ariana's like age regressing in real time. My favorite color is 5. And Cynthia's trying to breastfeed her. What am I watching? Why are they even airing this?
What? I hadn't heard that. Is that a thing? I hope she shows us.
Hello, my dears. So Wicked for Good is in cinemas, and so videos of old interviews with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are circulating again, along with some new clips, and they have once again got people asking themselves, what is up with Ariana and Cynthia? When it comes to the press tours, it seems they weren't even fully doing them, as Cynthia apparently had laryngitis, and so she wasn't able to actually do the interviews because she wasn't able to speak. And so Ariana decided that she was also going to refrain from doing any interviews in solidarity with Cynthia. I personally found this hilarious because it reminded me of the scene in the first Wicked where Ariana's character Glinda declares that she's going to change her name by dropping the A in her name to show solidarity with the animals.
Since Dr. Dillamond used to have his own goat-like way of pronouncifying my name, in solidarity and in order to express my outrage, I will henceforth be known no longer as Glinda, but simply Glinda.
Now, personally,
I do see the similarities there. I need to watch this movie, clearly. French. My brain refuses to take the victim path. So like I said, I'm biased and kind of a pit bull. I find that so relatable. The scenarios and alternatives that I come up with as possibilities are definitely not always aligned with what I actually think, and I'm with you on that. But I feel like I have a responsibility to try and give as many aspects and as many possibilities as humanly possible as I can think of. But yeah, I agree with you with the victim path wholeheartedly. Agreed, it's weird some actors do, or maybe they have nothing honest to say, maybe. There are also rumors that Ariana and Cynthia are having an affair. Yeah, I'm very aware of that. That's what I was trying to work out, because they haven't explicitly said it themselves. While rumors are just rumors, I could see why Cynthia's girlfriend would be uncomfortable. I would not be comfortable if my husband was having a dynamic like this with a male or a female, to be perfectly honest. I don't think the gender matters, but like, it's too intimate. It would be crossing a line, and I know that he would feel the same way about me. personally, I tried so hard to be tough and fight through my trauma that I didn't properly work through it and became self-destructive. Yeah, there's a line, and that is a really interesting one to bring up, because there is a brute force that can be taken, but because, like, you know, doing it anyway, practicing, making new neural paths and things like that, but it can be done in a way where denial is applied, or where not acknowledging it or not dealing with it at all is applied, and that can absolutely become self-destructive. It is a very nuanced way of getting through trauma, and it's I would probably say slightly different for everybody, and everybody's journey and everybody's timeline is going to be a little bit different. And where a lot of people find therapists to be helpful, from my perspective, like just talking about my journey myself, I found that therapists didn't help me at all, because it's like I got too caught up in thinking about what could be happening or what the diagnosis is, or thinking too much. And I felt like I was just acknowledging it too much, where action felt like much more of a therapeutic route for me. So without denying everything that's happened in my past, I moved through it in acknowledgement that certain things were going to be difficult because of it, but I was determined to do it anyway. So I don't know, that it's a whole conversation. I could do a whole video series on it very easily, because it's so nuanced. To you, it would be emotional cheating. I agree with you, French. I would class it the same way. Avoidance could screw you over. Learn the tools needed to heal from it. Don't ignore it. Yes, and most importantly, don't make excuses for yourself, because that is only going to be hurting yourself in the long run. Hey, Felonious Angel. I'm more of a CBT girly, which is interesting, because that was the therapy that I was getting, and I found it unhelpful. Just for me. I think that people that get use out of therapy is really wonderful, and I wish I was one of them. You don't find therapy helpful because it felt like you were being too validated. Yeah, Eliza, I think that's kind of what I was trying to say. There is a point where you can lean on what's wrong too much that you don't fix it in a way. Yeah.
I did actually watch the first Wicked movie and I enjoyed it, and I very much plan on watching the second one. Despite being interested in the films themselves, I never really got into the Ariana and Cynthia lore, and boy do I feel like I have been missing out. So I decided to catch up on it and have a look into what's going on there, especially after seeing all the people making videos and discussing how there's something sinister going on between Ariana and Cynthia. There's something weird going on within their relationship. What is up with the cast of Wicked? People keep asking. People speculating that they have some kind of secret romantic lovers relationship, or that they have some kind of codependent relationship, or they're trauma bonding, or there's something going on there. Why are they so slim? Why have they lost so much weight? It's all been very interesting to me, because to be honest, I had absolutely no clue about where all these theories and all these things were coming from. So I decided to dive into the Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo lore, and I have to say I was in hysterics. I think that these two are hilariously unhinged. So this morning I was cracking up at this particular interview where
hilariously unhinged is the most relatable phrase.
Cynthia is crying and Ariana is trying to comfort her by holding on to her singular finger.
And feeling power in that. Would you touch on that moment in the film when Elphaba has been banished, and yet she comes into her full power at that moment of the worst time?
I didn't know that was happening.
I've seen it, yeah.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was happening.
I don't know why I found this so funny.
Okay. More research on Cynthia is needed. I don't know if she's operating at the chronological age that she is. it's so hard to tell off like a handful of clips, but I'm gonna see if I can at least state the questions that I have in my mind when I do research, like further research for this. If they're acting, why? Yes, it brought publicly, but also turned off a lot of people. Oh, publicity, sorry. Oh, dyslexia. Yeah. For those people who have seen the movie, is there the same sort of bond between these two characters? My therapist does emotional focused therapy. You think that's what it's called? It's been helpful, opened your eyes to the fact that you've lived your life focused on what everyone around you wanted. Yeah. This past year was the first time you really thought about what you wanted. Amazing revelation. Oh, that's awesome. So is 2026 going to be the year that now that you've thought about it, you're going to take it? Because I love that for you. That gave you the ick, no lie. Yeah, it's unusual. That clip is from the first movie press tour. Okay. Because it makes me wonder if they're acting out the dynamic between their characters, which, it's, I don't know. But yeah, like why? But I don't know. It does get everyone talking about it, that's for sure. That's what people fear. Yes, it's supposed to be a family feel-good movie. Yes, I love that. Aloe continuing to build on 2025. Claim it, rock it. 2026 is yours.
Okay, but I was inconsolable. My baby was looking at me with pure concern in her little eyes. It's really interesting to me because these two have actually received quite a lot of hate and criticism online, which I didn't really understand, which is probably what piqued my curiosity and led me down the path of diving into their lore to understand what's going on here. And it seems to me that people have had an issue with the two of them since before the press tours even began. There was a lot of drama, I guess, around the fact that Ariana was even cast to play Glinda in Wicked. A lot of people were not happy with the choice of Ariana being cast because they didn't think that she was the right fit for the character. A lot of this was largely due to the fact that people were comparing her to Christian Chen, who played the original Glinda in the Broadway original of Wicked, and saying that Ariana's voice is not the same and it's not the right tone. People were really worried that she was basically going to butcher the songs as a result of that. Now, I do think that this is pretty normal fan behavior. This happens every time. Anytime you cast someone who isn't exactly like the original version, or there's any difference between the original person who was cast and the person who's now being cast in the newer version of whatever product it is that you're remaking, there is always going to be issues with fans who are going to compare and contrast. And if anything, this just goes to prove the point that I was making about race swaps when I was arguing that it's not so much the fact that the characters are necessarily black as opposed to more so the fact that they are different to the original. Because here you have two women who are both white, but people still have a big issue with the casting. People just don't like people messing around with characters that they like. They don't like you changing.
Yeah, this is a non-issue. This is just standard rubbish. Of course it's going to be different. It's a different take. There's definitely a more than friends vibe between Glinda and Elphaba later in the story. Interesting. You think actors play up banter and dynamic in interviews, but this is extremely out of hand. Yeah. Fans will never be 100% happy. That's why you write your own stories. Hello, Mermaid. You can't type. Hello, anyway.
Them in any way. You know, human beings are creatures of habit, okay? We don't like things to change. I don't know what to tell you. So naturally, because Ariana has a different voice to Christian Chen, people weren't happy with her being cast as Glinda. I personally never saw the Broadway original.
I'm just gonna skip this because it's not relevant.
So I personally didn't mind Ariana as Glinda.
Time with you. It's good with a pleasure getting to know you. And I hope you will be there for the rest of my life.
I will be. And I hope you will be too. And it's been
the privilege of my life. And I love you, and yeah, I hope you'll let my friendship be one of the things that you're learning how to let in.
Sometimes the interview.
I think it's normal for actors to get attached to working with each other, like especially in long-running shows and things like that. I have to admit that I think it's strange to see it in an interview. You don't normally see that. Like the actors of Heated Rivalry, they are very cozy with each other. I haven't seen that. Pretend to smooch, rib at each other. Okay, interesting. She seems on the verge of a mental breakdown. So uncomfortable. Yeah, and I almost wonder, because like none of us here, I think, unless you want to out yourself, none of us here know what it's like to have such a public image, like to the point where you can't even exit your house without being noticed. And I wonder what that does to your sense of reality. And maybe where we're looking at that and going, wow, that's a public interview. We would never conduct ourselves like that in front of a camera. That's weird. But what if your world is so skewed? What if your perception on reality is so skewed that you haven't managed to like separate the two ideas of private and public in a way? That right there read as a love confession. A little. Well, restrictions tend to leave people on the verge of on the verge of breakdown constantly. And if we know that Ariana is vegan, like a vegan diet can be totally well-rounded and give you everything you need, but you do have to work on a couple of vitamins and minerals in particular, because you don't get them as naturally as you might with when you are actually consuming meat. And it makes me wonder as well that obviously there's a calorie issue going on, but potentially there's also a vitamin issue going on if she's not careful. Yeah. And Darkwick, as you just said, that makes a lot of sense. You're always hungry under a lot of stress and pressure. But if you have you watched my members only video with the Eugenia condition? I think it's the first one in particular that I go into with like electrolyte imbalances and vitamin deficiencies can hit you hard, like really hard. And it affects you in ways that you wouldn't necessarily think, and it can really affect your cognitive functioning in a massive way. The chickens. Yeah, my boy's having a crow party. Oh, you did? It was, oh, thank you. It was magnificent. Yeah, so like it really, really does affect cognition. You didn't see the movie, though you didn't see the movies, you did watch a decent amount of the first movie's press interviews, just because there was so much buzz around their odd behavior. Yeah. Maybe a thyroid check is in order. I think several, health checks would be good. Laughs set aside, it's the seat of hormones, could lead toward the instability. It really could. Given what we're observing about their physical well-being, there could be multiple factors leading towards this behavior. And it might even be like a perfect storm situation of childhood trauma mixed with inappropriate relationships, mixed with a distorted view on the real world, mixed with hormonal issues, mixed with vitamin deficiencies. It could just be this perfect thing that's led to all of these factors happening, and now we're all just from the outside going, what is going on? It's so hard to tell. And I think overall it looks like there's something wrong. We just can't quite define exactly what that something is.
Viewers even join in and start crying with them. So there's also that.
Just the fact that you gave me so nice words. You gave me your time and affection.
So yeah, so emotions are often quite high in these interviews. I think they both are just quite emotional people. I think that's just how they are. There are those people that do just cry a lot, and it's just kind of how they are. It's just their personality. They cry when
I hate this about myself, but I am a crier. Any sort of extreme emotion, I cry. I can't help it, especially when it's anger. I really hate it because it's like, I'm not upset, I'm furious. I just can't stop these tears flowing. It really can. You had some health problems the last few years, lots of new food allergies, and you were severely anemic and malnourished, and that was the closest you've ever felt to a mental breakdown. Yes, I got there with an iron, vitamin E, and vitamin D deficiency, and yeah, it was really hitting my mental health much harder than I thought it would. You wonder if there's any chance it's all an act. That is definitely on my radar because it's a possibility. This could all just be PR. And I think anything that we see in this day and age always needs to have the filter over it of this could be fake. Angry, happy. You don't find Cynthia's appearance as alarming. It's not as bad. She's very muscular. She doesn't appear frail to you, Ariana, though. You don't know. I think she's heading down towards an unhealthy fat percentage, though. You're a crier too. Your hormones are still out of whack years past your last relapse and you still struggle with anemia. Some damage is hard to come back from. It's true, yeah. And I only have a vegetarian diet where I have to be really careful about iron in particular. And yeah, it can creep up on you in very insidious ways. Yeah. They also probably feel some kind of euphoria from it. I don't doubt that at all. I did a lot at my worst weight thinking I felt better than ever when the truth was, yeah, very, very true. I am just running off for a very quick break. I'm going to let this play, but I will still be able to hear it.
When they're happy, they cry when they're sad. You know, they just love a good cry. And there also have been some hilariously unhinged moments, like this interview, for example.
I'm autistic as well, so I've been told the rules are 7 minutes. So, well, you two are so important to the autistic community. I hope you know that. You're my ADHD and you're my autism and you're my brain incarnate. We love you.
We love you.
We're so drawn to you. Did you not know the neurodivergent? Oh,
We didn't know.
I had no idea.
the neurodivergent.
What does that mean? But all of these crazy and funny shenanigans have led to people making fun of them online and making parodies of how they behave in their interviews.
She just always has everybody's back, clearly. I think that's so important to having someone when you're so closely. So much,
So where are you from?
I'm from Waterloo, Florida.
Stop! No, because, oh my god, tell her. My grandfather has a sister, and that sister has a daughter, and my daughter has a dog walker, and that dog walker is from there as well. And it's just... It's really beautiful. It reminds me a lot of home. Thank you. Of course. It's reminding me a lot of home.
Sorry, I'm a little hungry. Oh, she's hungry. This is, okay. We'll come back. She knows everything. She even knows, she understands the Black experience. I don't think you understand. She's a chameleon. She's a shapeshifter. She knows more about being Black than I would say even I do.
So sweet.
You go potty.
Okay, love you.
I love you.
Now, their closeness has been attributed by some to them just being really close friends or just acting like typical theatre kids. Because this is apparently just how theatre kids behave, especially, you know, during the time of making a project. They get really close with each other and they really bond over the project that they're creating, and they become like besties and stuff. That's just kind of how they are, apparently. However, not everybody is buying into this explanation for their strange behavior within interviews. Like this person who posted, "Can we please stop with the 'but Ariana and Cynthia are theatre kids' nonsense? Most actors are just theatre kids, yet most actors don't act as weird as Ariana and Cynthia. They don't hold hands with their co-stars, they don't cry at every interview. Even as nuts as Lea Michele is, the ultimate theatre kid in the industry, she still acted professionally in interview settings. She didn't
even as nuts as Lea Michele." So I agree. I think the thing that needs to be defined is this unhealthy, or is this just an alternate version of normal, an alternate version of interacting with another? Things, you know, I'm sure that we all do things in our life that would appear weird to external entities. And I think that's ultimately what we're trying to define. But this right here, the professionalism, that's what kind of has me putting a question mark over it, because it's like, this is your job. You're being paid for this. You're actively promoting this. And unless it was like a thing that they were told to do, where is your professionalism? That's odd. That's very, very odd. It is admittedly very theatre kids. Yeah, I don't know that the bonding is necessarily the issue here, though.
cry, she didn't hold hands with anyone, and she didn't scream or squeal when excited. She acted normal. They're called theatre kids because it's how kids act. Ariana is 31 and Cynthia is 37. Those are adults. Act like it. Shame on Cynthia for playing into this shtick. She should have pushed Ariana away and kept it professional. I mean, these days we are infantilizing adults, and more adults are acting like children in the same way that it used to be Disney kids, now it's Disney adults. I mean, is it too surprising that it's now no longer just theatre kids, but also theatre adults? I also think that something that is often forgotten about when people discuss the relationship dynamic between Ariana and Cynthia is the fact that while they were filming Wicked, there was that whole cheating scandal that Ariana was involved in with another co-star, Ethan Slater. For those of you who are unaware, while they were filming Wicked, it was reported that Ariana, who was married at the time, was allegedly having an affair with her married co-star, Ethan Slater, during the filming of Wicked. And so because of that, of course, she received a lot of backlash online, a lot of people making hateful comments about her, a lot of people saying that this is a pattern of behavior and apparently she just has a history of taking people's men and all this kind of stuff. So it was, I imagine at that point in time, she was probably receiving a lot of negative press and a lot of negative comments and stuff on social media. And so, yeah, I can only imagine it wasn't a great time for her.
I also wonder, does Ariana have a habit of having overlapping relationships, which might indicate that she cannot handle being alone, like in her own company? Or does she require a codependent relationship of some description in her life to function? And is Cynthia fulfilling that at the moment where it's normally a lover, but it isn't in this case? Whatever their relationship it won't last. Once one can't rely on the other, the relationship will crumble. I agree. I don't think this is going, if it's real, this is not going anywhere good. Ariana never lasts long with anyone. And I would argue that if that's the case, she probably needs to spend time alone to get used to herself, learn who she is, learn what is acceptable and not acceptable. And I think that kind of growth is difficult to do in a relationship, especially if the other person in the relationship is an enabler of that behavior. You keep going back to what happened at Nickelodeon that has Ariana sorry. I am struggling to read today. Sometimes it's a little worse than others. Has her having such a skewed relationship of what a skewed view of what a normal relationship looks like. Yeah. I'm so sure that Nickelodeon has something to do with this. Maybe she enjoys feeling so wanted someone would even risk a marriage for her. Yes. Good point, Bootcat. A type of desperation for acceptance. Yeah, because that really does prove something to somebody who is so, like, insecure, where it's like, this person loves me so much that they would even change their entire life for me. And if that's the case, if you're somebody like that, you really need to step back and analyze why you would need somebody to prove that to you on that level, because it's not healthy to require your partner to prove their love for you constantly. Her only self-worth comes from others is a very slippery slope. Yes, it is. As a 41-year-old woman, it's weird to see Cynthia behave very immaturely. She's, I think, 39. You can't really say it's theatre kids. Yeah, and I agree. I think I was saying something similar early, Invader. I'm of a very, very similar age, and it doesn't add up. And even though I have struggled with Arrested Development, and I have overcome that, and I've grown to the age that I should be mentally, you know, it doesn't like work to me either. Something seems off about it. And yeah, it will end in pain. Yeah. Hopefully not too much devastation and destruction, but it definitely has the ability to.
Or anyone involved, to be fair. So my personal theory is, I wonder if, while yes, they probably did organically become close friends while working on Wicked, because they would have spent a lot of time together and they're co-stars, so it makes sense that they would spark up a friendship as a result of that. But I also wonder if there's also an element of them becoming really close because of the fact that all of that was happening around that time. Because I do think it's also likely that because there would have been a lot of scrutiny on Ariana's relationship with Ethan, with many people within the press, I'm sure, wanting to ask her questions.
That's a good point, Invader. Regression-like. So there's probably two aspects that we could be looking at. One is it just Arrested Development where the growing up never happened and it was delayed, or had the growing up happened and then you've regressed? So the two different functions, and they would indicate two different things. And in Ariana's situation, I would argue that the growing never has happened because of various, situations that have happened around her. But Cynthia is still a bit of a question mark in my mind. I can see the way Drew Barrymore speaks just by the way she's holding her mouth at the moment. Like you can almost hear it just by seeing it.
About that whole scandal, as well as questions about the affair allegations. People online were probably also giving her a hard time, and her marriage was also imploding. So I can imagine a scenario in which Cynthia perhaps becomes like one of the people who's kind of there for her during that moment, and who becomes her rock really during that time. Also, because they're co-stars and they're going to be doing press tours and interviews together, I can see a situation in which Cynthia and Ariana kind of make a pact that they're going to, be each other's comfort and support people. Because you know how the media are. They always want to know about the scandals and what's going on with all of that, etc. So they love to kind of catch people out in interviews and put them on the spot about things, especially drama. So I can imagine a situation where maybe because of everything that was going on at the time, Ariana was not super enthusiastic about press and was probably not super excited about doing interviews or being interviewed interviewed, and so Cynthia was kind of like the person that she was kind of leaning on during that time. And so perhaps because Cynthia was supporting Ariana during that time, it might explain why she's quite protective of her, or why she comes.
And that lends into, I'm so sorry, I can't remember who said it now, talking about Cynthia having been the big sister and maybe like a mother figure to her sister. If she kind of has that drive and that need, I don't think Cynthia has any children. I just want to fact check that before I go saying what I'm about to say. One moment, please, my nuggets. I apologize. No children. Which, as a woman who also of a similar age has no children, that was a distinct choice for me, but potentially wasn't for her. I don't have that maternal instinct that clearly she is exhibiting. So what if we're talking about a situation here where Ariana was going through a difficult time and she needed some support, and Cynthia was looking for that maternal outlet, and then this is what we've got as a result of a trauma bond? A lot of faith to put into one person. Yeah, but people do it. Of course, must be so weird to know normal Cynthia and see her act like this. Yeah. It does kind of make me wonder what the situation, like what was the environment like working on Wicked? It is worrying. You're also happily child-free, yes. Yeah, it can absolutely be a choice, but for some women it's not a choice, and they desperately would like to have that outlet. So, Neo, you think that this theory makes a lot of sense? Yeah. And again, it kind of takes us back to that perfect storm, isn't it? But for a series of things happening, but for even one of them not being in effect, would this have been the outcome? Yeah, a lot of moving parts, absolutely. It is complicated. And I'm thinking at this point in the research, we're probably looking at a little bit of a video series on this topic. Apparently it was brutal and pictures of the sets don't help the cause. Okay, so that's interesting. So maybe then we're also adding a little bit of a trauma bond dynamic on it, because it's like, we got through this together. We are strong together. You have a feeling we're going to tell all in 5 years or so. You're probably right, Boo Cat. And then you can go back to my videos that I made and see how correct or horribly blind Vera was. Did it have controversy? I might have to look into that. The wonderful thing about doing this on a live is I now have in writing in the chat and a transcript with all of the points that we've talked about. So it's going to make my research, like my continued research, a lot easier. You're the desperately would like and haven't been able to camp, and you often find yourself wanting to overstep maternally with your friends. Right, Kex. Can't relate, but thank you for your thank you for your input, because I don't know what it feels like to have the biological clock tick. I really don't. It just never happened, and I'm grateful that it didn't happen, because I think the line of women that I come from should stop breeding. But I can only imagine how horrible it would feel to so desperately want something, to have that urge, to have that instinct and not have it met. I'm sorry for you. I really am. Yeah, they basically can't say that word on YouTube. The actress who played Dorothy, really? It wasn't a normal set with lots of real or nice locations. Oh, because it was all CG, right? So they were just all stuck in a room together. Are you serious? They told her she was fat and she was big. Oh, sorry, no. Hold on. Wait. Boopcat, are you talking about the movie they've just done, or are you talking about the Judy Garland movie? Because my goodness, I know a lot about the Judy Garland movie, and that's what it sounds like you're talking about, and now I'm confused. You talking about the original one? I have gotten myself turned around in the comments. I'm gonna let it play while I reorient myself.
Comes across as very protective of her because they kind of became.
Yeah, right. Okay, Judy. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the current Wicked movie. Was that? And then I was confused. Yes. The situation for Judy in the original movie was horrendous, and yes, the snow in the Poppy scene was asbestos, and the paint that was on Tin Man was toxic, and all so many things. Should I do a deep dive on the original Wizard of Oz? Because that would be really fun.
Each other's like comfort people, and that could also be the reason why they're very touchy-feely, because often, you know, people, that's how people comfort each other. You know, you might hold someone's hand or whatever, just so that they can feel that you're there and that you're there for them. So it could really just be that. Although to some people Cynthia comes across as protective, others actually think she just comes across as possessive rather than protective. This is because of some of the clips that have been circulating online, especially this one where there's a fan who jumps over a barricade and grabs Ariana and puts his arm over her, and there's a clip of Cynthia pulling Ariana away from him.
Wicked this morning, while attending the Singapore premiere of Wicked for Good, Cynthia Erivo sprang into action to protect her co-star Ariana Grande. A man leapt over the barricade and made a direct run towards Ariana, as you can see, before Cynthia stepped in and forcefully had to push him away. The pop super.
And that's a very protective stance that Cynthia did there. Is that weird though? I think that is a fine reaction if you really care about someone and someone launches at the person that you care about. The broom didn't catch on fire. I think it was, you know how she disappears in smoke? It was one of those. There were many awful things that went down in the original Wizard of Oz, yes. Yeah.
Superstar, you can see, is visibly shaken by the incident. Thankfully, though, she is completely.
Neo over on Twitch said, no, that was very justified in my opinion. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily weird. I think it's highly inappropriate when fans launch themselves like that at celebrities. I think, you know, it's like removing the celebrity's ability for autonomy or agency over their own personal space. I think it's gross. If I was in that situation, I would not handle it well. I would be a horrible celebrity, probably being sued all over the place, because it's just not okay to do that. And for Cynthia to step in like that, it's okay. But she is kind of holding Ariana in a very protective stance at the moment. And I just wonder if all of these things look super weird because they're all together. I don't know. Cynthia's reaction looked maternal to you. You would have probably done the same thing as Cynthia in that situation. Yeah, I think I would have too. It's her face that got viral. She's looking like she's gonna bite the fan's head off. I do wonder though, because the little clips that we get to see, we have no additional context. Like, what if there had been threats leading up to it? Or what if this was like the 50th fan in a row that did this? Or, you know, things like that. There's no... Or even Ariana had gone through something that day. I don't know, it's so hard to tell. You can't do crowds, me either, Creed. You'd be such a horrible celebrity too. Yes. And I know that they have whole PR teams that tell them how to act. I don't have time for that anymore. Maybe at some point, but in my growth and my age, it's like, no, you're gonna get authentically me, and it may not always be pleasing to you. But that is just not okay, that level of fandom.
Completely okay.
Look, Cynthia was more effective in that situation than the bodyguard. Okay, there are crazy people out there. Lord knows, you know,
Ew,
in this
really?
particular situation,
Grouping
the guy didn't
them.
seem like he wanted to harm Ariana at all or anything. He just wanted to, I guess he just wanted to be photographed with her. But, you know, there are crazy people out there, like genuinely crazy people out there. And so I would like to think if your friend was in a situation with you where a random guy who you don't know tries to grab you, I would like to think that your friend would try and pull you out of the way too. I don't really personally think that's possessive. I think that's just a friend trying to help a friend out of a situation where they think it's potentially dangerous, which no one knows, and he's just grabbing Ariana. So I can understand why she would step in that situation.
French, I would smack a bitch. Anybody who tried to harm my chickens. I really would. You do. You protect your people. It's a thing.
Now, this guy apparently has a reputation for doing stuff like this. He did the same thing to Katy Perry on her show. Apparently, he's just a troll who does this kind of stuff. He apparently did it to The Weeknd as well. So, you know, there's that. Then there's this other clip as well that people keep referring to when they talk about how Cynthia is very possessive. And it shows Ariana basically hugging a fan, and Cynthia is looking at him with this weird like expression. It kind of looks like she's giving him a dirty look. It could just be her face, you know. As a member of the resting bitch face community, I do know what it's like for people to make negative assumptions about your facial expressions, thinking that you are, you know, giving people dirty looks, etc., or assuming that you're thinking something really negative when in reality you're not thinking anything at all, let alone anything negative. It is possible.
As a neurodivergent mother clucker with a heckin' case of RBF, I can relate to this. People do not always read my expressions correctly. Maybe about half the time it's off. Even my husband, who knows me very, very well, there's more to it. I like this woman's take. It's a lot more well-rounded compared to the last video we watched. You've stepped between a very angry man who is much larger than you and the person he was going over without even thinking about it. I wasn't even that close with them. It's just instinct. Yep. What are you trying to say, Belinda? Vera Chukin. Don't know what word won't make YouTube censor you. Not sure. People are reaching with that one. Yeah. There's just so many things that could be going on in that moment, and I don't know. People want drama. I don't like just going for the drama just because that's more interesting. If the truth is boring, well, the truth is boring, but that's still what you're going to get from me. You knocked a guy twice your size out on his ass protecting your sister. It really is just instinct. I ran once. I was just standing outside a pharmacy and I heard a woman screaming, and she was screaming for help, and I ran without thinking at this woman, and somebody had actually stabbed her because they were robbing her, and she said she didn't have any money, and they stabbed her. I ran at it without thinking. Fortunately, I was a martial artist at the time, but still, you know, yeah, these things happen. It's a good point. You're AUDHD and always get similar reactions to your non-expressions. Yeah. Thought you'd protect people, which... Oh, Chukin, sorry. Yeah, no, I've got you, Melinda. Yeah. Yes, I would get rapidly unpleasant if anybody threatened my chickens.
Possible that she could have been giving this fan a dirty look, but it is also possible that it could just be her face. You know, we'll never know. But as I was saying, I do think
Just be her
because
face.
it's very likely that Cynthia helped Ariana during that rough time. I do think because of the fact that they kind of came, it seems to me anyway, this is just my theory, that they probably became each other's support person to kind of get through that time and to get through the press and stuff. I do think it could explain as well why Ariana started to feel uncomfortable doing press without Cynthia, because like I said, there was that report that because Cynthia had laryngitis and couldn't speak, she wasn't able to do any of the press interviews, and so Ariana decided that she was also not going to do any because she wanted to, in solidarity with her. And I do wonder if it's just a case of because they did it together for such a long time and Cynthia became her comfort person, she just didn't feel comfortable to do any interviews or press without her, and so she just kind of was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Now, as I was saying before, there is also a lot of scrutiny about just how affectionate they are with each other, holding hands, touching each other's faces, hugging, all that sort of stuff. You know, a lot of people find that to be very, very strange. The thing is, there are female relationships, or female friendships rather, that just genuinely are like that. They're just super hyper affectionate. They're so comfortable with each other to the point where they just kind of act like that, even though they're not romantic, because that's another thing I've seen people saying, like they're secret lovers or something. They secretly have like romantic relationships. They're secretly having a romantic relationship, with each other. And I don't know, I've seen platonic gals behave like this with each other, and it really is nothing.
And so I know that I promised that I wouldn't do age guessing anymore because I'm so horrendously bad at it. But I feel like in this case it might be correct, or at least, making someone younger. Based on what we were talking about earlier, where we kind of think that this kind of dynamic tends to happen in teenagehood to early 20s, I would say this woman that we're looking at is probably in that age range or close to, where theoretically she could have friends in that age group, and that's what she's observing, which we've all described as kind of seemingly fairly common by the sounds of it. So, but the question becomes, though, although this is common, is it healthy? And from what we've all discussed, our own experiences, it's rarely healthy and it rarely ends well. So, yeah.
There's nothing romantic, nothing sexual going on. That's just how they are with each other. There are just some girls who are just like that. They're just very affectionate with each other. Now, granted, this is more.
Yes, but it can also be the before phase of actual romantic entanglement. It can be. You don't care if they're having a relationship, even if that's the case, they're still acting strange and appear unwell. I agree, Aloe. I don't really, this is why I was talking at the beginning. It's like, the sexuality, it's just such a non-issue. I really don't care about that. The factors that I am interested in, though, is what's the motivation? How healthy is it? What's actually going on? What's the foundation of this? And it seems like all roads go to this is an unhealthy dynamic, no matter what it is. And yeah, and then within that relationship, why does there appear to be some manner of pro-condition situation going on? And I think the physical state of them both is entangled in whatever dynamic they have set up.
More common with girls, not so much women. Like, this is the kind of stuff I'd expect from like teenage relationship, like teenage friendships. But there are also women who are like that. Drew Barrymore is another one who comes to mind who kind of acts like this. Like on her show, you'll often see her holding her guest's hand or being very affectionate in the way that she talks to them and the way that she is with them. So yeah, there are also women who are like that. That being said, I do
I would hate that so much. Don't touch my knee. I don't like it. No. There's something unhealthy whether they're intimate or not. Yeah, it is unsettling. Agreed, whatever's going on, it's not healthy. Yeah. And it will be interesting to see what happens to it when they're not working together. like when they're not seeing each other all the time, does that naturally, you know, fizzle off, or does the intensity continue? And I would love to know what the respective partners think about it.
I agree with people that...
No, stop it. No. No touching, please, and thank you. Yes. I just don't know. Like, there are people allowed to, but a host on an interview show? No, you may not. Your cat loves to lick your feet while you sleep. It drives you completely insane. You're okay, Melinda. You're good. The sense of humor is accepted.
Just how touchy-feely and stuff they are with each other is quite bizarre because they're doing it in like professional settings, which I think is what throws everyone off because no one's used to that. No one's used to seeing people behave like that in interviews and in professional settings, and that's what makes it so strange. Like, for example, there's this clip where this man grabs Ariana's hand and starts like aggressively shaking it, and then Cynthia pulls it away, and Ariana playfully acts as if her wrist is like injured or something, and then, you know, Cynthia goes and kisses it. Now, I've seen some people say like, oh, is this Ariana trying to get Cynthia's attention, and did she do that so that Cynthia could kiss her hand? Is that like a thing that they do? I don't know. I just took that as Ariana Grande trying to be funny. Like, I thought it was a joke, because I do think she does have that kind of quirky side of her personality where she does try to be comedic. Like when she received the award and she pretended it was really, really heavy, and some people also criticized her for that too, and argue that she's trying to be like this soft, delicate little flower who's like, oh no, this award is so heavy.
Yeah, that's a good point. I had forgotten about that. Just a weird sense of humor. I don't know. Like, I could see that just from Ariana, but then has Cynthia completely bought into it?
Heavy, because a lot of people think that she does try to infantilize herself a lot, but I do think she was just trying to be funny. I think she was just doing it for comedic effect, and I think that's the same situation that was happening with the whole wrist thing. I think she was just trying to be funny. But as I was saying, there is something very teenage-esque about their friendship.
That's a good point, Kex. I wonder if it was just a playful way of telling the host that she didn't like being grabbed like that. And I think that's valid because there's a certain amount of diplomacy that you need to have, especially when you're, you know, a celebrity like that. And it may not necessarily be socially acceptable to say, don't do that, I don't like that, because then you come off like a raving lunatic, like Lively came off when she speaks her mind like that. It's like there's a way of, which is a whole thing, by the way. I have so many opinions on Blake Lively, but that may not necessarily align with the popular opinion. But as a woman as well, it's so easy to just come off bitchy. So is that like a cute little way of just going, stop it, you know, diffuse the situation without making it weird? The host was definitely crossing a line, so I could see it being a subtle tell-off. Yeah, for sure. You can count on the one hand the people you're comfortable with touching you. Yeah, I agree. I'm with you there. I always feel sympathy for celebs and constantly being hugged and handshaked. It's just assumed that they're fine with it. Yeah, I also have a similar notion about parents that tell their children to hug someone. It's like you're violating the personal autonomy that individual being has. And I understand teaching, you know, politeness and things like that, but it's, I don't know, the physical touch thing, I think, is a line that the individual should be comfortable with. Be a bitch, y'all. I just stopped caring. Reporters are so out of line sometimes. They really are. They are. And I could see how celebrities would get impatient with it. I certainly would, for sure. And I do think that there's a point potentially where a celebrity just gets so over it that maybe it's best that they actually leave the industry, because there's just kind of no coming back from that mentality. If she was trying to keep it from being weird, it definitely backfired. But it was weird in a different way, though. It was weird in a slightly quirky way compared to being weird in an aggressive way. I don't know. It might just be that she's not comfortable with conflict as well, and that was her way of dealing with it. Yes, don't teach your kids that they must hug everyone. It's not okay. As the kid that was told that, and also the kid to stop being weird and look people in the eye, just be normal. And I quote, just be normal. It's uncomfortable. On the flip side, when an adult tells a child to hug you, sometimes I don't want to be touched. Yes! And if the child is comfortable to do it, but I have to feign comfort with it. I agree, Katie. Yeah. It's like consent on both beings' behalf. But when it comes to children, I think that instinctive, the want to hug should be instinctive for them, not because they've been told to. But you're right, but it's a complex notion to try and teach a child that the adult may not want to be hugged either. Personally, I'm not a kid person. I don't want to be hugged by a child, generally speaking. Oh, geez, that's telling far too much about myself, isn't it? Agreed, it's weird how we are just supposed to like anyone's kids. You're still a stranger to me. Yes, agreed, King. I don't like that my family would say, hug him, that's your second cousin's sister's dad, stupid. You can relate, eye contact sucks, forced eye contact is horrid, yes. And I still do it as an adult. Still being normal, good for me. You've long felt teaching kids to just accept unwanted touch sets them up for endangerment. Yes, I agree, Boobcat.
Friendship and just how they act with each other, best friends for life and all that kind of stuff. Like, for example, when they were being interviewed by Kelly Clarkson and they were discussing the tattoos that they'd gotten together.
I heard you got tattoos. I know that you love tattoos. I do too. But
Yes.
And I didn't. Y'all all got tattoos like a bunch, right?
I'm just gonna skip because we've kind of covered this.
What are they?
While yes, I do think it's kind of strange, like they got tattoos of each other's names on each other or each other's faces. They're matching tattoos. They think like they've tattooed besties for life or they've tattooed each other's names on each other's bodies or something. But in reality, they've both got tattoos that are centered around Wicked. Not centered around each other, but they just happen to go and get them together. I have also seen some people say they really don't think their friendship is gonna last. They think once this whole Wicked project is completely said and done, they're gonna not speak to each other ever again. And I can understand why, because typically female friendships that are this intense, this quickly, do tend to fizzle out just as quickly. But we don't actually know much about their relationship when you really think about it. They could have been friends before Wicked for all we know, and we've only just seen their relationship now because of Wicked. So who knows? They could have been in each other's lives before Wicked, which could also explain why their friendship seems to be super deep and super intense, because maybe they've been friends for a lot longer than we know about. So who really knows whether or not they'll still be friends? It'll be interesting to see, because if they were to go from this to like not being friends and not even speaking at all,
Oh, Monica, thank you so much for becoming a Clucker. Welcome. There's a whole bunch of members-only content waiting for you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
that would be very strange. That I would question that a bit, because it's like, damn, you really do go hard or go home. And then there's the conversation about the weight loss. A lot of people have been asking them.
Whoa, she looked really different in that. Hang on, let me just find it again.
Go hard or go home. And then
that is a very different physique. Very different. Just catching up on comments. You hate that eye contact is linked with showing respect because no thank you. I don't need you staring into my eyeballs, thanks. I agree, Kex. When you went to France, you had to do the cheek kiss with total strangers. I don't like that. No. Not for me. I don't even like handshakes. A good fist bump is good. Yeah. Seems like a lot of us have similar traumas. Yes, Boopcat. There's a reason for that. I apologize. I do appear to be the magnet for this. I think we've all found our people, but when I started my channel, I wanted to put out my story, and in particular, the mother-child dynamic, the mother-daughter mistreatment dynamic is rarely talked about, and I felt inspired by Jeanette McCurdy's book talking about it, because there's just, I've gone through some shit, and I wanted to see if it would help anybody else by talking about it and dragging it out of the metaphorical closet. And it turns out that there's a great deal. And then everybody, resonates with different aspects of my story. And so we found each other. Oh, you had a rough day, Creed. It's nice to spend time with everyone. I like it here too. I look forward to these all week. I'm so glad that you get something out of it too. And today was such a shit show for me, and I'm like, no, I still want to, everything else can be rearranged, because this is my time with my nuggets. Very beautiful too, yeah, she is. She's been working on her delts. In any other species, making eye contact is considered aggressive. Why do we do it? Oh, fun fact about chickens. Because, any excuse to speak about chickens. Roosters do this thing where they'll drop their head down low and get really close and make eye contact, and that's their way of saying I love you. So in that context, although sometimes eye contact can be aggressive for sure with chickens, but yeah, fun little fact. That book changed so much. It was like, somebody gets it. Yes, Creeds. Same. Permission to group hug the chat, only if everybody consents. I shall accept chat hugs. Yeah, virtual hugs, fine. Yeah.
Then there's the conversation about the weight loss. A lot of people have been asking themselves, like, what is going on with the Wicked cast? Like, why do all the women, the main female characters, why do they all look so skinny? Like, what's going on? Like, why are they so small? And this is not just in relation to Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, but also to Michelle Yeoh. And people have been doing a lot of before and afters of the three women and saying, listen, what's going on? So something...
That screenshot there is, yeah. That is quite telling. And I mean, I don't think it's just a Wicked thing. We are seeing this a lot. Like, if you've seen Kelly Osbourne and Sharon Osbourne as well, and there's a whole host, even like Christina Aguilera, I believe, and Katy Perry. There's so many doing this with Ozempic. I don't know if that's what these women are doing, but it is a movement, right? And I don't necessarily think that this particular look is just to be blamed on Wicked specifically. It's quite dramatic when you look at those. And like, Ariana has always been petite for sure, but it is next level. Kelly is not recognizable. No, she's not. And can I just have a small rant here? As a millennial, I grew up looking at the likes of, Jessica Simpson and Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, and even worse to a point, like Jennifer Aniston was very, very thin in Friends, and also Sex and the City, all of those women, even to the point of sitting, when they sit on chairs, I don't know if you've noticed this, they just sit so their butt is right on the edge, so that way their thighs don't splay out, like naturally how thighs do when you sit down. And I grew up watching that, and it took me years, because of course my family wasn't helping, but it took me years to get out of that mindset. And now these women that were setting that tone at that time are still clucking with us. They're still filling their faces full of filler and Botox and getting plastic surgeries and taking Ozempic, and they're still exhibiting to an age group that is now approaching an age where you start to actually see the aging process, and they're still making it so that their skin doesn't even look like skin, and still showing us how bad we look. And I just can't help but feel, as a mature woman, how dare you do that? Continue to do that. There is a social responsibility to, as a public figure like that, to, I don't know, not make your viewers feel horrible about themselves. And although I'm not on camera and I know you can't see me, but I'm committed to accepting my body the way it is, because it's at least strong and healthy, even though it's not the size that my 16-year-old self would like. And I'm also accepting aging gracefully, because in my eyes, age is a gift that not everybody gets, and I think it should be celebrated. And I think that women's beauty at every age should be celebrated, and not just how we looked when we were 20. But anyway, that's my rant. I just don't like that these women are still doing that. And hopefully everybody is grown enough to see through it now, but we weren't at the time. You love that about roosters. I am talking about, I'm glad my mum passed. That's the Jeanette McCurdy book I'm talking about. Kate Moss ruined your life, yes. She has a lot to answer for too. Not really, but you looked her up way too much in your life. It gets in though, doesn't it? You discovered part of the secret to avoid the thigh spread is the stilettos holding up the thigh slightly off the chair. You see, why does this enter our consciousness? Why does it matter if thighs spread when you sit on them? Why would they tell us we are perfect? What money does that make? Yep. Good for you, Vera. That's the ultimate goal. It's what I try to embody. I'm not finished on my journey, because I still catch those really quick automatic thoughts that are so programmed in. But I refuse to be giving any of my mental well-being over to this longer than I need to. And yeah, Pamela Anderson is, yes, solid in that regard. I love what she's done. I have a lot of respect for it. Same here, we're the same age, and I've been so angry about the Ozempic craze. We had a good attempt at body positivity, and it feels like we're backsliding. We are. Unfortunately.
And afters of the three women, and saying, listen, what's going on? So something sinister going on the cast of Wicked. And I do have to admit, when I saw the before videos and pictures of Cynthia especially, I didn't even recognize her. Like, she looks so different. The weight loss has drastically changed.
Oh, I thought that was a different actress. I just saw a clip that I've seen of someone. I hadn't made the connection. Oh dear. You've lost a significant amount of weight after losing your partner, and you feel everyone... Oh, and you feel like everyone assumes you're on the shot. Yeah, because nobody else can lose weight any other way, for sure. And it doesn't matter. Like, if people want to use that, I don't disagree with it being used. I think especially in cases where the health risks are too far in the other direction. Like, if you didn't use it, it would take too long to lose it. Particularly like, 600-pound life kind of stuff. But the women that are taking it in Hollywood were already very thin. And that's what I have an issue with. you're no chickenologist, but you thought bantam was a size, not a breed. Oh, no, it is. Yeah, sorry if I missed someone talking about that. Bantam is like referencing like teacup in dogs or miniature. It's just, you can have bantams of a lot of breeds. They're just the miniature version. Although some breeds are naturally bantams, like silkies. Yeah, if anybody has chicken questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Just saying.
Her appearance. With Ariana Grande, it's quite clear as well that she's lost weight. She's always been quite a small petite girl anyway, but yeah, it is quite clear still that she has clearly lost weight. Now, Michelle Yeoh, though, I feel like we need to leave her out of this conversation because I really don't think it applies. I don't think she's lost a drastic amount of weight at all. Now,
I just want to watch a couple of videos from the TikTok woman because we're about to run out of time, and I just wanted to see what the connections she was making was. So this is a channel called You Know Nat, and apparently she's done some good videos. I actually haven't seen them yet. And I probably should have prepared some because here we are scrolling. And this is so entertaining for you. Just looking for Ariana. Apparently she does like these little mini deep dives on certain topics.
Time to have a little chat about Ariana Grande.
Oh, sorry, that was loud.
And it's not about what she looks like, but it is about the timeline of the Wicked press tour and how that relates to her childhood exploitation and what that must be like and how confusing that must be, that without that she wouldn't have landed the dream role that she's always wanted. Okay, so let's go through this timeline. In January of 2024, Wicked concludes filming, and just to back up a little bit, this was a dream role for Ariana Grande. Everybody remembers the clip of her saying, "I'll treat her so well," talking about Galinda. She's always wanted to be Galinda. She finally lands her dream role. It wraps filming in January. In March, her press tour starts for the first movie.
And Chad is now talking about silkies. What do you want? What? Silkies are the fluffy ones. Their feathers almost look like fur, not feathers. I'm not a silky breeder. I'm in a situation where I can't have more roosters right now, and 50% of them are roosters that come out of eggs, and I don't know. I can't give them away. I can't do what most people do with them. So yeah, no, breeding is not for me right now. Silkies can do better in cold. They are little furnaces compared to other chickens, but having said that, the ability to handle hot and cold really seems like an individual thing rather than a breed thing in my experience. But overall, they probably don't like the heat. Wyandotte are your favorite. Oh, they are beautiful. They're so cute. Silkies are a really good beginner chicken, especially the roosters are a very good beginner rooster. Silkies are, I really don't regard them as chickens. They're like dogs are to wolves. Silkies are to chickens. They're just different and they're delightful. But they do come with a little bit more care requirements because their little head floofs can make them blind, like they can't see, and they have a vestigial fifth toe, and generally speaking, they can just have a little bit more care required, but they are a very, very good beginner chicken, and the roosters are very chill, and very cuddly. And the thing about silkies that the other chickens don't have is that they all love close personal attention. So they like to be groomed. They like to be, bathed and blow dried, and it's a whole thing. The more personal attention you give them, the more they love it. Are there any goth creepy birds that you can keep and love? Define goth and creepy. I understand they can be cold or wet. Never cold and wet. Yes.
Also in March, the Quiet on Set Nickelodeon documentary drops that exposes all of the horrific stuff that these children went through on set, and she was on these sets just like.
Actually, that's a good point. So all of a sudden, she's now faced with her childhood trauma being made public, and it's almost like her story is being told for her, which, by the way, I'm just putting myself in that position. My story is very complex and very personal, and I don't think I would like somebody else to put that in a documentary for me without my, participation in it.
Like Amanda Bynes, don't tell me this stare isn't giving this stare. So Ariana finally wraps the role of her lifetime, and she's immediately hit with the stark reminder of what she had to do as a little girl to position herself in this industry to even be considered for the artistic.
Sorry, just more chicken talk. I'm actually thinking about adding a Chook chat segment because everybody has chicken questions, and I thought it might be fun to have like a really short segment in the middle as a palate cleanser or something. There are chickens that are all black, but Silkies actually, as I mentioned, all of their tissue is black as well. And their little combs are black and everything. It's just their feathers aren't always. Before we end, you may have missed my earlier messages regarding Ariana's relationship hopping. Oh, no, Amanda, yeah, it's okay. I've got them. I'm basically, when I do the research for all of this, I'm just going to go back through the live chat and, yeah, make notes. So don't worry. Yeah, thank you so much. When you go to research, the passing of Mac Miller probably had an impact on why. Okay, interesting. Yes to Chook section. Something did happen. There was a situation at one of her concerts, and she reports having PTSD from that as well. So I think there's so much to cover. This is going to be a series. Hopefully you're all down with that, because there's no way. I don't feel like you could thoroughly do a deep dive with one video of any sort of reasonable length on this topic. It's in depth. Whoops.
Role that she had always dreamed of. So obviously those two things happening in March, this all coming back to the surface, it was horrible timing for her at the start of this press tour, and she seems to just have been getting worse and worse, which is not that surprising because suddenly her relationship with Dan Schneider was on full public display. A lot of people were talking about that documentary, and they were bringing light to the horrific things that were done to the children on those sets, including images that resurfaced of her. She has a lot of people bringing attention to the inappropriate things that men may have done to her as a child, right as she's supposed to be celebrating the biggest role of her life.
So there is an aspect of my story that I have not discussed on YouTube, partially because it's not super YouTube friendly, but partially also because I'm not ready to discuss it. Although, given that telling my story does seem to help people, I am working towards being ready to talk about it. I will actually be very obliquely discussing it in my next video that I'm working on at the moment. But I am in complete control of how much of my story I discuss, how it's discussed, and when it's discussed. And there are aspects of it that are not reconciled in my mind yet. And I can't imagine what that would be like watching a documentary or knowing that there's a documentary out about it, and probably also knowing that it's not going to be depicted correctly. That concept, I haven't thought about for Ariana Grande before, and that's quite distressing to think about. The only time you shared your whole story was to make sure it wouldn't happen to anyone else. You can't imagine keeping silent with that much power behind her. Yeah. You wonder what celebs don't have PTSD at this point, yeah. Or people just in general. So you would overlook her holding on to Cynthia the way she does generally. It does really add another layer. It doesn't make it healthy, and potentially Cynthia is enabling an unhealthy connection, but it does add something, doesn't it? You're sure there's a systemic pressure to keep silent to protect herself and her career. Yeah. It does seem like they, as celebrities, have to pick one of two options. It's like either double down and do a full expose or keep silent. And I feel like life doesn't operate in those black and white lines of thinking. Life operates in grayscale, and it doesn't happen all at once. And it just, I don't know. You weren't talking, oh no, it's okay, French. You weren't talking about me. Keep your peace safe. I was just talking more about how I imagine this could feel to Ariana, because there's also the possibility that she doesn't feel traumatized by the things that happened at Nickelodeon, and potentially having them framed that way could be causing trauma. It's so complicated. Yeah, there are some things that that just feel wrong coming from outside perspectives. Yeah. And it's why I'm careful with the people that I cover, I talk about things that they've put online, and there's always that aspect of it. But even so, there was a video that I researched, recorded, and started editing about Hungry Fat Chick that in the editing process, I just kind of went, this doesn't feel right. And I trashed the whole thing, because although she had made it public, she had then hidden it like quite a few years ago, and it was the Wayback Machine that I was able to find it all, and it just didn't feel right. That I felt like if she wanted to keep it out there, it would still be there. It's just, I don't know. But because we're talking about such big celebrities, not just YouTube vloggers, it's all out there and they don't have control over it. So is part of your issue with Rachel and Girl World in general sometimes the commodification of people's trauma. Yeah, and I think there's a way to do it, because I think I look at these women that I cover and I look at their videos and I provide my perspective on the analysis, and that's just from my own experiences. But I'm not seeking extra info, if that makes sense. And I think there's a line, and I think what Rachel did crossed that line. And by the way, you will not believe what she's just done. If anybody has seen her last video, appalling. I have some real feelings about it, and I'm making a video about it. Vera, I'm going to school for teaching adults with trauma and can send you my references if needed. It's fascinating and can help your research. That would be interesting, Creed. If you can DM me on TikTok or Instagram. I'm just Vera the Chicken everywhere. That would be very interesting. Oh my god, I almost forgot this is part of the Girl World. Yes. I am interested in not just being part of Girl World. I would like to be part of everything. And if this kind of content with Ariana is of interest to people, I would like to start expanding away from just YouTube people as well. So we'll see how it's received, what people want, and go from there, because I have a very wide range of interests. you've not kept up with her, so you look forward to your video. Yeah. Spoiler alert, she schools us on mistreatment towards women. Yes. Coming from her. Super fun. Well, I'm doing videos so you don't have to watch them, so yeah.
Time, which again, confusing because she likely wouldn't be in that role. We know from other kids on the set that he would do special favors and that people's careers would get really big when they would do what he wanted, which is how Amanda got the Amanda Show, because her parents would let Dan Schneider take her into his office to do writing sessions, and eventually it led to her getting her own show. We know that.
Yes, and actually Jeanette McCurdy in her book mentions that I think she was supposed to be the star of her own show, and then they put Ariana in there and she was like the golden child and she got extra benefits that Jeanette didn't get. So it makes me concerned what Ariana went through with Dan and Nickelodeon generally speaking, because she was like the golden child. And does that mean better or worse treatment? Because we know from Amanda Bynes that it was not good. And clearly it didn't do good things for her psyche. You like this space? I'm glad, Belinda. We like to do these psychological deep dives. I kind of believe in having people leave interactions with me feeling better in some way than they did before they, interacted with me. And I try to embody that, and hopefully everybody feels accepted in this space, because that's what I aim to do. Unless you attack my previous old self, then I feel a little bit defensive of my past self. I can get a little sassy sometimes. The manipulator who scammed Emily out of her share, that one, she hasn't changed a bit. No, she hasn't. But she's trying. She's really, really trying to pivot. I'm not quite ready to let her go. People haven't forgotten. People don't feel like they have justice. And yeah, I'm going to keep talking about her so long as she's relevant.
Ariana also got her own show. I think it was called like Cat and Sam. And of course, those images resurfacing, it's very clear what was happening. And of course, she was a vulnerable, innocent, preyed upon young girl. And she is now becoming a woman, coming into her womanhood and having to realize what happened and what this means and what it means in this industry. Now, in June of 2024, Ariana Grande actually did an interview where she admits that she was reprocessing a lot of the things that happened to her on the shows Victorious and Sam and Cat because she was so young, and all of those clips were resurfacing from that documentary. She also talked about the survivors and how brave they were for coming forward, and the set environment, and how she was convinced as a young girl that they were just pushing the envelope with this humor and that nothing was wrong. But obviously, looking back as a woman, you can see that that was not right to be doing around children.
Speaking specifically about our show, I think that was something that we were convinced was like the cool thing about us, is that like we pushed the envelope with our humor, and the innuendos were like, we were told and convinced as well that it was like the cool differentiation. And I don't know, I think it just all happened so quickly, and now looking back on some of the clips, I'm like, that's damn, like really?
And
oh
the
shit!
craziest,
like if my daughter, sorry to, you know, I just, you think about it, it's like if I had a daughter.
Thanks, Max. So it's almost like a delayed trauma response, right? I think this is actually a thing. I'll need to research it a bit before my video, but like, it may not have affected her in the moment, but how do you reconcile as an adult that your being was used for like people with a particular predilection to do certain things with? How do you reconcile that as an adult? And I mean, on the one hand, I kind of hope that it didn't bother her, but that's rough. Amanda Bynes took the "I'm gonna be so ugly no man will ever want to hurt me" route, and it's so sad. Yes, I actually did that a little bit with my weight at a certain point as well. You drowned yourself in oversized clothes growing up for similar reasons. Yeah, I'm sorry, Boop Cat. With a lot of therapy, it didn't help me, but it can help some. Yeah. I'm so sorry everybody had those experiences. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, I really wouldn't.
Yeah.
Another startling thing that she says in this interview is that she was upset to find out that some of the content of her that she never knew was released ended up on a website. Now, you guys remember when I dove into what amandaplease.com was. I think that there were other websites where other people who were into disturbing things could access photos and content of these children. Now, this is at a time where websites were really the only type of internet that we had. I think that he was catering to these men with behind the scenes content. We know that they were taking...
I totally agree with that take. I think that's exactly what was going on. And that's horrible. And it does actually, see, this is why I like research. Sometimes I go into things and I know that I have my own set of biases, and I do tend to be a little harsher on parents because of my experiences. But I always like to go into these things knowing what my preconceived notions are and then challenging them, like, what would it look like if I were wrong about this? And now all of a sudden, with the context that we have based on, you know, everything that we've looked at today, and I'm going to keep researching after the fact, but everything that we've looked at today is sort of starting to look like Cynthia is heavily caring for somebody who's dealing with trauma right now. And I still don't think that that's necessarily being done in a healthy way. It just kind of makes, with that context, it makes some of her actions make a lot more sense. And if we're right about the fact that she does have that natural, maternal instinct, I don't know. I think it's still a bad combination. I don't think it's going to benefit either of them, but it does start to make a bit more sense. Oh, yes, Larry Nassar. That became a hyperfixation for some time. I would be interested in covering that if people would be interested in hearing it. You think that something similar hit Simone Biles? Oh, yeah. Yeah, because what if you don't see things for what it is as an adult, like as a child, and then as an adult you kind of have that realization? I have had that happen in layers with things from my mother, like where I've realized as I've been either doing my videos or writing my memoir, it's like, oh, that there's these layers of trauma that kind of hit over time and then you deal with them. But yeah. Humans can bury things in themselves very deeply. Absolutely.
Taking pictures of Amanda's body parts, and there was literally a section on her website called Body Parts where people could click through and guess what they were looking at. Now, we know that a child did not consent to that being put out, and it sounds like that's kind of what Ariana is saying, that she found out content of her were on some of these websites that were taken for the show. That is completely inappropriate, and imagine how traumatizing that has been for her.
And then the things that weren't approved for the network were snuck onto our website or whatever it was, and that is another discovery. But going into it, I guess I'm upset.
Now, that interview was June of 2024, and by November of 2025, the second Wicked press tour, she is noticeably doing worse. It is just so sad to see because
Okay, so with that theory, how does the condition stuff work in? Is it possible that maybe something started for one reason and has continued as something else? And now it's like a descending cycle that they found themselves in. You have a feeling that child beauty pageant kids are in the same camp. I think anywhere where there's a congregation of children and children-related activities, especially when there's money involved, there is a potential for the wrong people to be involved. We as parents deserve the critique and critical eye. Our one job is to protect, educate, and advocate for our children. Anyone acting against these principles abdicates a parental title. I agree. Don't forget, this is happening on a local level as well. 100%. 100%. Don't post your kids online. I agree. I always question the motive. And my mother tried to get me into pageants. She tried to get me into acting as a kid. I was so horribly scared of everything that it didn't work for me. But, like, you know, these people are putting their children out there. Definitely a perpetuating relapse cycle. Yeah. So maybe they connected for one reason and it felt good and it felt healthy, and now it's spiraling and they're doing it together. Neither one of them realizing how dangerous this is getting for each other. Maybe. This is layered. This is so much more complex than I originally thought it was going to be. I came into it thinking that there were lots of moving parts, but there's so much more going on than I thought. Those realizations are tenfold as a parent. Oh, I don't disclose my story, but realizing the acts my mother committed to me as I look at my son can be earth-shattering. Oh, Max. Yeah. I couldn't. There are so many reasons that I don't have children, and yeah, I couldn't imagine. Yeah. Let's just finish this. There's not much left.
Many of these kids that were on these sets are still struggling today and will struggle for the rest of their lives. And it's all because of a position that adults put them in. The adults that were hired to keep them safe actually ended up being the predators that use them in ways that they couldn't even understand as little girls. So I'm not surprised that she looks like this. I'm not surprised that she's having a hard time. Of course, this is all speculation in my opinion here, but imagine how hard it would be to not only deal with growing up fast and having finances at such a young age, and a lot of them have parents who take their money, but then on top of it, you have these other predatory people. And those predatory people who are meant to keep the children safe are the ones that get to decide who becomes a big star. And then once these girls become successful big stars, they also become women, and they have to somehow reconcile what happened to them non-consensually as a little kid and where it got them. I can't imagine how confusing that must be and how horrific it is to deal with. All of these girls deserved much better. I want to know what you guys think. I'll talk to you in the comments. Time to have a little chat about.
I like this woman and her takes. I'm going to watch a few more that she's got, actually. I might do a follow while I'm here. Oh, I've highlighted everything. Yeah, so I think that there's so much going on here. One thing that I would like to learn more about is Cynthia and her past and what's going on. Like, does she have a history of condition, you know, pro-condition kind of situations with food? And yeah, I would like to get a better understanding with her. I'm just catching up on comments. You're reminded on a regular basis how lucky you are to have become a full-ass adult before social media took off. That is so relatable. To think of how much embarrassing crap would be floating around. Yikes. Yes. And then things like the Wayback Machine, never really let it go, and it's there forever. I'm with you there. I absolutely would have been a lol cow, because the problem is, like, when you look at people like Amber, you know, she's grown up in this kind of setting, but it's in the posting of everything online has also trapped her into being that person as well. And I think it's like a self-perpetuating cycle in that regard. It would be so much harder to break out of your past while also being constantly reminded of your past. And personally, although I have fully changed everything about myself and the way that I think, my being, I have completely overhauled, I still feel uncomfortable when things from my past are referenced, right? Like, because I was a butt in a, you know, in my past life, and it's hard to deal with. But to have it constantly online, yeah. Has anyone mentioned how extremely competitive conditions are yet? Even between people who are very close? Yes, it's been touched on a bit, Neo. I could imagine that could form some sort of weird bond and obviously speed up the progression. Yeah, absolutely. And I need to touch on that for sure. That is not something that I have gone through, but I know it's a thing. Definitely know that's a thing. Creeds, you found your people? You did. That one interviewer said, was her... one was her autism and the other was her ADHD, I think, in reference to Cynthia and Ariana. Yeah, I recall that happening in one of the... It's interesting. You like her content? Yeah, it's a nice factual delivery. I like it. So true, you had to become an adult to realize how bad you were treated as a child, and you never knew... You never realized the true evil of it. Yeah. I would never. There's so much that my mother did that I would never, just never. Amber, talk about Arrested Development. Oh, and I do. Whether or not I continue to cover Amber in the future is still in question. I need to, you know, so long as she's on that show, it is absolutely not going to be on my channel. And I just don't want to bring attention to it. It's awful. And if she gets her channel back and she goes back to doing that and she keeps this kind of vibe, I don't want to cover that either. I have learned about myself, thanks to her, that although I will always give people the room to grow and I will always be there to cheer them on when they grow, I am really struggling with watching her go backwards. And that is absolutely what she's doing on this show. You know, like stagnating and inaction is one thing, but actively putting yourself in a position where you deteriorate your own growth, it's not okay. You need a break from this mess. Yes, a lot of people have been echoing the same thing. And I think there's enough channels covering it that if you want to watch it, you can watch it with them, but it's not going to be on my channel. You think the interviewer who made the autism ADHD comment about Cynthia is Australian? Oh, really? I didn't detect an Aussie accent. I thought it might have been British. I'm not sure. You could be right, though. The older you get, the less you understand your parents. That is so relatable, Tiger. I have this memory. This is a total random tangent, by the way. But I have had this memory suddenly pop into my head that I was always the kid that was picked up last from like after school care, and I was always she would make them wait for hours before she'd pick me up. And this is why I say there's a real disconnect where my mother was horribly overprotective and over panicked about everything, but also very negligent at the same time. And there was this one time where I was at after school care and she was so horribly late that, and bear in mind, this is in the 90s, so before like blue cards and actual registration and things for people caring for children. But she was so late that they had to close, like the school grounds had to close. So I went home with one of the male after school care supervisors and to his home where he was living with male roommates, and I just had to wait there for a couple of hours for her to pick me up. What is that? Who does that? That's not okay. Nothing happened. It was fine. They were nice guys, but what a risk. Who does that? It occurs to you that the like making the female lolcows shave their heads as punishment, and Amber is super, oh, do they? Super attached to her hair. Do they really? I don't think she would do that. As a mother of a type 3 nonverbal, I struggle with how loosely people use autism as the new insult. Yes, people use it as a replacement for the R word. It's disgusting. You're right. I've noticed that too. Wow, that's so dangerous. It really is. To be fair, they might have been the trusted people. Oh, they were fine, but still. You were forgotten lots of places, including summer camp. Oh. At the center you work at, the child would have been in the hands of CPS by that point. Yeah. It was just so risky. And can we also say risky for the guy as well? He probably shouldn't have done it just for his own self-protection, because that's really putting him in a place where if my mother had have decided that something happened, and believe me, she's the type that could decide that, he would have been, that is so dangerous. One time they gave you $40 for leaving us, then took it back 20 minutes later. Oh dear. We're talking French. I cannot talk French. No, I caught the we. All right, my nuggets. I think that is going to be a wrap for today. Thank you so much for everyone who came in and is chatting. And thank you for everybody who sat and lurked. I can see you there. And thank you to my replay nuggets who are in the future. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so, so much. I will be here next week, but there will also be a Rachel video coming out very shortly. But that is all the clocks I have left to give. Stay golden, my little nuggets, and I'll catch you next time.